Happy Friday. Welcome to your favorite breakfast show on the block. I like what you're wearing this morning, Ben.
Thank you very much. So,
Zero?
No, this time it isn't, but it's a shirt that's a painting.
Okay. What does it say?
This is like a canvas with stuff going on. So when you're done wearing the shirt, and you're done,
hang it somewhere.
Cut it.
Folks, welcome aboard. We are here to tell you what we have lined up for you for today's 4-hour package of the AM show. Of course, we start by serving you the AM news. After that, Afel Moni joins us. He's former president of GJA, and Kwame Nkrumah Botsio is also general secretary of the CPP. Both gentlemen will help us review the newspapers and the stories that are making the airwaves. And after that, we'll bring you AM Sports with Muftar Nabil Abdullahi or Haruna Mumbarak. Then, our big stories.
Well, when we get into our big stories, is the economy broken? Well, that's definitely what John Dramani Mahama thinks. That's his verdict. He's saying that he's inherited an economy that is broken. But the minority says he should stop his lamentations, though he actually mentioned yesterday that he wasn't the type to lament, but to fix the situation. Well, we'll delve into the issues as the minority has said that all that he said yesterday were just purposeless lamentations. We'll bring that to you this morning with our crack team analyzing the core issues.
Well, you know, today's a Friday. I thought Ben would get right into it. He will be serving you his blunt thoughts. I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm always glued to hear Benjamin tell us the true state of affairs in his blunt thoughts. But then after that, we'll get to listen to the ever-glistening Noella. She'll be refreshing your Friday on E-Corner with all you want to know trending on the entertainment arena.
Well, you want to stick and stay with us. It's a fun-packed, power-packed, information-packed show we have lined up for you. Just stick and stay with us. Up next, we serve you the news.
Welcome to the AM News on the AM Show. Now the details. President John Dramani Mahama has delivered a scathing judgment of the erstwhile NPP government's management of the economy in his first State of the Nation address of his second term. In more than 2 hours, John Mahama rebuked the former government for leaving the country in dire economic situation. Despite all this, the president told Parliament he was not before the MPs to lament, but to proffer concrete solutions to fixing the country's problems. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, sat through proceedings and our reports.
More than 8 years ago, John Dramani Mahama stood in Parliament as President of the Republic to deliver his last message on the state of the nation. He lost the next 2 elections, and as fate will have it, 8 years down the line, he is back in Parliament delivering another message on the state of the nation as President of the Republic.
It has also been nearly a decade since I said goodbye to this House after delivering what many, including myself, thought at the time would be my final address to Parliament. God Almighty, Providence, and the unpredictability of life have summoned me here once again.
John Dramani Mahama says, despite the enormity of the economic challenges, he is not here in Parliament to lament.
Mr. Speaker, it's not my style to lament and shift blame when confronted with challenges. My approach is to accept challenges and work hard to resolve them. I have therefore not come here to lament on the state of our country, though there's much to lament about. I understand why I was elected with such high voter confidence, and that is to solve Ghana's problems.
John Dramani Mahama says, just like he pledged to the nation to fix the Dumsor crisis when he was president between 2013 and 2017, it is on the same vein that he promises this country that he will fix the current economic challenges.
Yesterday, February 26, 2025, marks exactly 10 years since I stood in this chamber at this very spot to declare my determination to fix Dumsor, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Today, inspired by the Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the good people of Ghana, I am moved to make a similar purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, I will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on a path of growth and prosperity.
John Dramani Mahama continues to paint a gloomy picture of the economy.
We have inherited a country that is broken on many fronts. The profundities of the challenges confronting us are staggering. We are saddled with staggering debts and glaring signs of almost deliberate and, in some cases, reckless mismanagement of our resources.
Outside of the chamber, meanwhile, some NPP MPs have been describing the president's address as being full of lamentations.
I think it's also important for us to point out that, it will appear that the whole address was framed on the anchor or the pillars of lamentations and blame game, and if you want, almost even shaking responsibility of governance, of the fact that he has a responsibility to govern with the greatest of respect to the president.
We're all part of the transition team and we work together in the transition. This is not the economy we handed over. We handed over an economy that all the economic indicators, clearly showed that we were on the right path, and they themselves admitted to that at the transition meetings. So why are you saying something different today?
I was happy to hear that he says a certain amount of money has been committed to the project and has been spread over. Government is continuing, and if MPP government was to be in power today, all these Agenda 11 hospitals would have been completed.
Without peace, can you function? You cannot function. And so when you inherit a peaceful nation from the previous administration, my thinking is that that is the first you need to acknowledge and commend the previous president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the MPP administration for bequeathing to you a peaceful country.
But NDC MPs have been firing back, insisting the president delivered a message on the true state of the nation.
Each minister continue, because we already started, continue with the marching orders. I am sure that we will be able to build the Ghana we all want. The best part is that together with everybody in this country, we are building the Ghana we want. As for the resetting, he's reset. And together, we should be able to build the Ghana we want.
I'm sure the whole of Ghana listens to His Excellency. So for anybody like the minority to try to twist whatever he has said, I'm sure it's a bit of some way. Of course, they will always have their say, and the majority will have its way.
Well, we have some reactions from the Ashanti region. While some respondents commend his commitment to transparency, others express disappointment at what they describe as the lack of specifics in his plan. Nana Boakye-Adom puts this together for us.
After some hours on the floor of Parliament, President John Dramani Mahama delivered the State of the Nation's address, highlighting the challenges and then the current situation that we are in as a country. He also used the chance to re-echo his promise of resetting the country and also delivering on some of the major promises that he made during the campaign period. Today we took to the streets of Kumasi right after the President's State of the Nation's address to gauge the mood of residents and also listen to their concerns.
I would say it's not the true state. It's not the true state. Because before even the address, people came that when he comes, he should just say what it is there. So you can't just come and then say something which is what we are in now. What he came to me, there is something better there. He has to say that one and then say that there is nothing there. So all the promises that he said he's going to do, and now he's saying that due to this circumstance he cannot. I would say it's a lie. If that is it, then it means he was aware before coming.
No government or no president has inherited a smooth or a resilient economy. That's how I see it. A president will come, he will deliver the State of the Nation's address. What he will tell the nation is that, oh, I inherited a worse economy. You get it? So me, I don't trust anyone I don't trust any president. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
It is true that times are hard. We are still in the difficulty that President Akufo-Addo left us with.
Actually, I heard the president talk about the doomsday and the complete of our ferry hospital. But I was expecting him to talk about the completion of the Swami interchange and then that of the LGBTQ. But actually, we are hoping for the best and then we hope to see more.
We are still
in the same economic difficulty, but let's give him some time to fix it just as he promised. We are looking up to him.
After the president's State of the Nation's address, which has elicited mixed reactions on the streets of Kumasi, a lot of these respondents want President John Mahama to implement all the promises he made during the campaign period. For Joy News, my name is Nana Boachidankwe-Yadom, Kumasi.
From Kumasi, let's come right back here in Accra because some students at the University of Ghana are urging President John Dramani Mahama to consider his plans to integrate military training into the National Service Scheme as a pathway for recruitment into the armed forces. Speaking to Joy News, Collins Frimpong about the president's plan to introduce military training in NSS to instill discipline, the students argued that this initiative would help streamline the military recruitment process and reduce its associated challenges. Collins Frimpong reports.
It should be one of the basic mode of recruitment, because most of the recruitment are done in our military service. We all know how it goes. So having most of your university graduates go into the military means they're going to help you a lot. We are not going to overly emphasize on machoism, but are going to deal with intellect more. So we should also look at that as an opportunity where people, after that short military training, who show the interest should just be recruited if they need be, rather than maybe necessarily going around maybe opening nomination form for people to come. And then I think it should be one of the basic mode of recruitment to our national security services. Probably not the main mode, but then should be one of the top.
What I know is that the normal days or period spent in military training is 6 months. So I suggest that's for recruits, and for officers is 1 year plus a month, so more than a year. So I think with this, he can start up making it, initiating it or making it a basic necessity for NSS personnel in the first month of their service to the National Service Secretariat. So it should also be used as a benchmark to recruit people who are interested to join the military.
A lot of people may actually apply, but they may not get opportunity. Some may pass, protocol means, and still they may not get. So I think if they are given a taste of it, and after, going through the necessary, training for the few months he's intending to do it, then no problem. If they still want to join, then they can still remain. Yeah.
Well, they say this initiative will help streamline the recruitment processes and its associated challenges. But let's move on to other stories now. And the selection of Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, popularly known as Napo, as the running mate of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia had a detrimental effect on the New Patriotic Party's fortunes in the 2024 general election. This is the conclusion of a study conducted by the Department of History and Political Science of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The key findings reveal a huge public dissatisfaction towards Dr. Opoku Prempeh's political utterances, internal party division, among others. Nana Boachidankwe-Yadom tells us more in this report.
The research on the prospects of the 2024 election conducted by the Department of History and Political Science at the KNUST was based on public perception and the preference of the NPP's vice presidential candidate, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. The research highlights the negative impact of Dr. Opoku Prempeh as running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia during the 2024 campaign. Lead researcher Professor Samuel Ledu-Jemfi sheds light on the findings.
The running mate in any political party should potentially, if not galvanize support, at least serve as an icing on the cake of the campaign. So satisfaction with Dr. Prempeh as VP candidate to Bawumia further emphasizes several things. The data on satisfaction with Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh's performance as the vice presidential candidate shows showed a predominantly negative response from respondents. A significant 36.31% were very unsatisfied, and 6.35% were unsatisfied, indicating considerable discontent with his performance. In contrast, 24.39% of respondents remained neutral, suggesting uncertainty or indifference. Meanwhile, 17.69% were very satisfied, and 15.26% were satisfied, reflecting some positive feedback, but not enough to counterbalance the dissatisfaction.
Professor Edu Jemfi made some recommendations for Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh's candidacy going forward.
Elections and politics is science. And so today, we have all seen the outcome of the elections, and we saw what happened. So it is not time for the NPP to be beating its chest. It is time to learn, relearn, unlearn, and to look at the way forward to make sure that the party is properly positioned in terms of its candidature, and more so who becomes the running mate or who stays as a running mate in looking at the science of what Ghanaians are looking at.
Dr. Amache Boateng, a political scientist at KNUST, also cited public dissatisfaction towards the NPP's running mate.
The broader Ghanaian public, should their concerns be factored, into the party's selection of their, let's say, flag bearer, let's say the running mate? Should a party consider internal factors alone, given the fact that the crucial thing is going to be decided on by the bigger Ghanaian public? So I think these are interesting issues that political parties will want to take note of going forward.
For Joy News, Nana Boachidanko Yadom, Kumasi.
Moving on, the Center for Strategic Philanthropy and Social Investment of the Pentecost University, Philanthropy Ghana, and the Multimedia Group have signed an MOU towards the expansion of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. Now, this partnership aims to amplify the voices of small philanthropic organizations by giving them the platform, recognition, and support they deserve. Joy News LC Asiedu Akisedu witnessed the signing ceremony and filed this report.
The new partnership among three key organizations, Center for Strategic Philanthropy and Social Investment at Pentecost University, Philanthropy Ghana, and the Multimedia Group's Joy News, aims to expand the reach and impact of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards. The Memorandum of Understanding will foster greater collaboration in media philanthropy, amplify global philanthropy stories, and strengthen international networks. Speaking to Joy News at the signing ceremony, Board Chairman of SEPSI, Apostle Dr. Christian Chekpo, emphasized the significance of the partnership.
We have met to sign MOUs so that we can work in partnership with one another to see how we can support each other and grow philanthropy, not only in Ghana, but in the whole of the West Africa sub-region. And we think that it's an important event because it's going to determine the future of many young people and even institutions in Ghana and Africa. It's going to determine development projects. We know that there are many young people who have skills, they have ideas.
The collaboration marks a major step in recognizing and empowering thousands of selfless Ghanaians who dedicate their lives to transforming their communities and driving national development. MFA Atiamwa Eli, coordinator for strategic partnerships and projects at Joy Brands, expressed optimism about the future of the award scheme, citing the alliance as a catalyst for growth and increased impact. Representing the Multimedia Group, General Manager of Joy Brand, Francis Fifi Kumsen, and Channel Manager for Joy News, Kweku Owusu-Pepra, signed the MOU. Signing on behalf of the Pentecost University SEPSI were Board Chairman Apostle Dr. Christian Chekpo and Acting Director Reverend Emmanuel Mafo. Madam Yaira Atiso, Executive Director of Philanthropy Ghana, also signed on behalf of her organization. Additionally, the Melton Foundation, another key player in the philanthropy space, signed a separate agreement with SEPSI. The foundation was represented by Eric Ni Ayente Odonko.
Standing by now for Benjamin Akakbo. He serves you business update.
Well, time now for business. Let's get into our currency market for starters. Well, from there, let's get into our stories now. An economist, Professor Patrick Esuming, has stated that the 2025 budget will prove whether the government is keen on resetting the economy. His views follow assertions by President John Dramani Mahama during the State of the Nation address in Parliament yesterday that the economic crisis is deeper than earlier estimated, warning it could take years for the necessary corrections to be done. Reacting to these concerns, Professor Esuming said the upcoming budget had to outline measures to revive the economy.
Well, I think it depends on the specific programs, especially on the fiscal side, that will be put in the budget. And the President did say that a lot of the specific and final details will come when the Finance Minister presents the budget next week, so or the week after. So in that sense, I think people will be looking at the budget, especially the private sector will be looking at the budget with some keen eye to see exactly what the president will do and whether his actions and his reassurances that he is going to welcome the private sector to partner the government, whether he will actually do that, and then it will be something that they will find acceptable. So I think that's where it is. For that, we have to wait until the budget is presented, and then whether the request that the private sector has made of the president, to what extent it will be addressed.
Well, let's head now into our commodities market. That's it for our business updates. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
And that will be it for the AM News Bulletin on the AM Show. But stick with us. We get right into the news review segment. Our guest joining us in studio, Afel Moni, former President GJA, Kwame Nkrumah Botsio, General Secretary, CPP. We'll be back in a bit. Don't go away. You're live on the AM Show, and this is a news review segment, and Ben and I are here to steer the conversations. But before we get into it, a gentle reminder for you to select a solar system from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 Ghana cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. Now, all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So you want to get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. And we also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. Google Solar Mates Ghana to find us both on Facebook and on Instagram, or you can simply call 050-832-0470. Solar Mates Ghana is located at Adringano, East Legon. Solar Mates, we go everywhere.
Well, let me also tell you about Syntex tanks. Ghana, let's talk water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong and, of course, it has a lot to offer. It is unbreakable. And there you go, practically unbreakable, I should say. If you're thinking of the safety of your water, potable water, you should be thinking Syntex tank. It's always got your back. I'll be telling you more about Syntex tank later on the show. But thank you. All right, so we come back into the studio, and we have our guest joining the conversation. What was that mischievous laugh, Siti Abachi? It's our little secret.
I was admiring you then.
It's our little secret. We will not mention the secret. But would you like to bring in our guest?
Yeah, we have Kwame Nkrumah Boateng, or Sajafo, like I like to say, Kwame Nkrumah Boateng, General Secretary of the CPP, and of course, Afel Moni, former President of GJA. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. How's Friday?
You forgot.
Yeah.
Honorable Kubash. Honorable Kubash.
You don't forget
Do you know that was his alias back in?
Oh,
yes. Revealed by... I'll not let this go.
He's not here today.
Well, let me ride on that. Honorable Kubash, yesterday we listened to President's first SONA in his second term. Reactions are already pouring in. NPP MPs are saying he just, came to spew lamentations. NDC MPs are saying that is the true state of the nation. But I don't want to, direct you in terms of your reflections for us this morning. Well, what's on your mind?
Well, on my mind today is the sacrifices of various people in this country. And 3 people come to mind who 77 years ago died to help bring the country to what it is today. That is Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte. And as I think today is 77 years, as we reflect, we should all seek to, more or less, in our various endeavors, whether in our workplaces, whichever responsibilities we have, also lay down our lives for our country. And hopefully, as we commemorate the 77 years, the state will look at the circumstances of their graves, the circumstances of their families. And I know that in other jurisdictions, there are posthumous promotions. If that is also
it's
something...
not to say other jurisdictions. I mean, we have the case of Major Muhammad.
Major Muhammad.
So it's not like...
It is true. I'd actually forgotten. Yes, I think it's about time. It's about time that we honored these gallant gentlemen who died for our country adequately. That is what is on my mind today.
Well, thank you for those thoughts. Mr. Moni?
I'd like to zoom on the media space in America.
Okay.
To do some reflective thinking on what's happening there. Reports have it that many storied journalism institutions in that country are badly under pressure from the Trump administration. To the extent that some have abandoned their editorial independence. And they include Associated Press,
Washington Post,
and CBS.
As for Washington Post, it also has to do with Jeff Bezos. Some say he wants to stay in line with the Trump administration.
Exactly.
And so I've read some very interesting stuff about that.
Very, very interesting and troubling at the same time. And, a threat against media freedom anywhere. It's a threat against media freedom everywhere. And it is recalled that in his inaugural speech, President Trump pledged to sign an executive order to stop censorship by state institutions and to give back freedom to the American people, to quote him. But what is happening is there is opposite of what he pledged. And we learn that journalism is not, and is rooted in truth, journalism is not a profession for timorous souls, timorous souls, or lily-livered or chicken-hearted people. Journalism is a profession for people who have that independent and fearless streak, like our gentlemen, men and gentlemen in men and women in Joy News multimedia group. So we need to monitor development in America and solidarize with our counterpart there to ensure that press freedom is not eroded, because it has a tendency to also ripple in other parts of the world, and this can spell disaster for all of us. And said that democracy is impossible without free media, and democracy is under threat because free media is under threat in America. So this is a troubling development we need to sharpen our focus on and join forces to ensure that democracy really works and media freedom thrives in America.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Moni. Let's zoom in into the newspapers now. I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let me start from there. Of course, the SONA will take lead. It says, "Our fix economic crisis resets Ghana to growth prosperity," according to President Mahama. "We'll make free SHS better." Again, President Mahama. And Kokon Ketinketi project to benefit 55,000 households nationwide. Hajj Task Force sets March 13th deadline for package payment. And fix the economy, stop lamenting, Minority tells President John Dramani Mahama. Let's get in there and begin. Supreme Court strikes out suits challenging anti-LGBTQ plus bill. And I think Mr. Sky withdrew the application, so that's that. Western Regional Minister visits Sekendi prisons. BBC Komla Dumo Award 2025 launched. For all those interested, look it up and apply, and you just might get in. Let's stay here for a bit. Fix the economy, stop lamenting, Minority tells President. So the minority in Parliament has challenged President John Dramani Mahama to stop lamenting and fix the economy if he thought it was broken. And that's the view of the Minority Caucus. We have the photo Alexander Penyo marking here. Early days yet? Mr. Moni, let me start with you.
His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama, had hinted that he was going to trigger a truth bomb. And when he did, we all had, yesterday I was monitoring with all absorbing attention.
Right.
And all consuming seriousness, whatever he was going to say. And he came across as somebody who was tenaciously committed to fixing the economy or resetting Ghana. And he also demonstrated his relentless readiness to hit the ground running. But it's one thing promising and another thing doing the do or walking the talk. It's expected that NDC MPP will maintain their blinkered positions when it comes to issues of national importance, like the economy. And according to MPP, it was full of lamentations. The State of the Nation address was full of lamentations. But the President also will maintain his stand, and his support to maintain his stand, that he was articulating, reflecting the state of the economy. And the President has been challenged, or his government has been challenged to publish the true state of the economy. I will back that score for Ghanaians to know that this is exactly what the present government inherited, and this will also give a picture of the enormousness of the challenges facing them. And the President needs no reminding that he has no time to waste, no excuse to offer. He was voted into power to really fix the economy. It's really come easy, it's really come cheap. The challenges are formidable, but by dint of will and the grace of God, and of course the support of the Ghanaian people, at least some headway can be made, and which will bring relief to the Ghanaian people, most of whom are really under pressure. and confronted with bitter cost of living.
Okay. Sajifu, did you get the sense that the president was just lamenting yesterday? I mean, even before he gave that SONA, you know, NPP MPs were already cautioning him that he should make sure that his speech reflected the true state of the nation as what he inherited. You know?
The question is why?
Yeah, why that rush to caution the president? But now he's giving us the state of the nation's address, and they're saying he was just lamenting. Did you get that sense?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, as someone said, the State of the Nation's address is about three things. Where we are, where we intend to go, and how we will get there. So what our honorable MPs of the minority side, I believe, were trying to do was to get him to omit the first part, which is where we are. But you cannot, you know, as
there's no future without the past.
Exactly. Yeah. As the Bible says, if you are going to build a house, you should know what you have before you start, lest you embarrass yourself. So His Excellency, the President, had to come clean and let us know where we are. If the minority has a problem, they can publish their own figures. But he also went on to state where we intend to go and even how we will get there. I think it was a good State of the Nation address. I mean, he went over and above. I mean, he even covered issues about having labor exchange programs with other countries, sending people abroad to go and work. And these brought back memories of the CPP days, where a lot of people were sent abroad on scholarships to go and work and all that, especially in Eastern Europe and other things. So I think we are on the right track.
Okay.
It wasn't just lamentations.
I mean, there's a large population of young people who are only observing the democracy unfold now. We've always lived under democracy, but to pay attention to what our leaders do, Parliament, is a lot of people who are only now following. Yeah. And so some of us are watching what's happening with keen interest, watching parliamentarians trying to outshout each other in Parliament. You know, this one is saying that is not the true state of the nation. Where's the truth? Where's the lie? It makes for interesting TV. It does. Anyway, let's continue. Ghana Gas said, anyone wants to get a bite at the LGBTQ thing? I mean, now that application has been withdrawn, they're free to maybe revisit it to see if we can finally assent it and make it a law.
Yeah, well, when it comes to LGBT, it's something that anytime I have an opportunity, I speak about it. As a devout Christian myself, I don't think such things should be encouraged. However, I would also want to highlight the human rights aspects about these things. If you are going to pass the bill, I have seen billboards about aspects that say that if you suspect there's something going on regarding LGBT and you don't report it, you can also be subject to prosecution. But these are private things between people. I think our attention should be more on the recruitment, to go against the recruitment of people into LGBT or encouraging it. But going into people's bedrooms and saying, these two guys, you are too close. They could be business partners. They want to travel together. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't think LGBT will get any country anywhere. If you look at the West, that today seem to be trying to trumpet LGBT. Their foundations were more of anti-LGBT. The anti-LGBT laws we have on our books were brought in by the colonial governments. If you look at America, they say, in God we trust. If you have built your foundation on good morals and your Christian or Muslim or other beliefs, and you feel you have reached a certain stage where you want to rebel, you're on your own. But we are now trying to build ourselves, so we don't have time to go that route. So I'm glad it has been reintroduced. I hope His Excellency will assent to it quickly. But then we should also keep in mind that it shouldn't be an avenue for witch hunting and following people who have. There's something you call bromance.
Right, right.
I mean, we should avoid that.
To chip in something small, our constitution, the president states, frowns on unnatural carnal knowledge.
Yes.
And one doesn't need any superfluity of legal knowledge to know that our present constitution is against LGBTQ. So if even the attempt by the previous parliament to pass the bill into law got stuck somewhere, and a fresh attempt can be made to revive the bill. And I'm inclined to believe that the president, being a member of our church, Assemblies of God Ghana, who is as willing as ready to give his full endorsement to whatever will be passed in Parliament to reflect his stance on this issue.
Well, thank you. Let me do some other stories. Ben, you have some comments on that, or should I get to some other stories?
You go ahead.
Okay.
I'll come back later to the SONA.
So, in Nkukwan Kitinkiti projects to benefit 55,000 households nationwide, the government will soon roll out its Nkukwan. Are we sticking with that name? Is that what you're calling it?
Well, the president himself used it.
Yeah, but
you know how sometimes in political gimmickry and jargonism, sometimes something is used against you, and then remember the Calipo issue?
And then
now it became a high five. So
well, maybe it looks like we are sticking with good. Well, so the project, as part of measure to cut down on the country's importation of poultry products, especially chicken and eggs, as well as generate employment for the youth. And the project is expected to benefit not less than 55,000 households across the country, as well as create jobs for the youth. Let me add two quick headlines. So, we'll make free SHS better, President said. President John Dramani Mahama has reaffirmed his commitment to enhance the free senior high school policy and not cancel it as being speculated. I think on the education sector, this is what most people were looking forward to hearing. Also, we are getting, bite-sized reports from the ongoing consultative stakeholders forum that they would rather, or looks like they're leaning toward the school of thought, that parents should pay for boarding and feeding while the state focuses on, pumping the funds into infrastructure, resource development, and all that. And so we are hearing him say that we are not cancelling free SHS, but what the reports coming out from that engagement is also suggesting something else. I don't know how they'll reconcile all of it, but over to you. Let me start with you, Osajifo.
I think it's a good thing that the president has mentioned that we are sticking to the free SHS.
How free would it be?
Well, I've noticed that, I mean, as you said, that parents would take care of boarding and feeding. I think it's, at least let's try it out and see. Because I know it will still not, the advantage of free SHS is it allowed indigent students, those who couldn't afford, to be able to go to school.
Yeah.
However, if parents are to take care of boarding and feeding, it will not restrict you from going to school per se. It may restrict your access to the boarding house, but it will not restrict your access to the education. So it's a step in the right direction. What we had before was a right to the boarding house for everybody. But with this boarding and feeding, if you know you cannot afford the boarding house, which of course comes with feeding, the dining hall and all that, then you probably find an SHS in your area and be a day student. It is not a bad idea at all. I think because what we have currently, we've discussed on this program before about how some of the schools could not feed themselves. And even one of my juniors from secondary school was telling me about how when it was their time to host the students for a special dinner, every year group does that occasionally. He said the school authorities actually pleaded with them that instead of feeding the students for just one day, as we also do, they should feed them for an extra 2 days. You see, and my secondary school is considered to be one of the better endowed secondary schools. And if even they were facing such issues, then what about the other schools? So I think it's a perfect idea. At least let's pilot it and see how it becomes. It will not restrict access to education. So
Okay.
I think it's a step.
The money.
Yeah,
Also, he mentioned
yeah.
the no fee stress policy for that is paying the first year fees for first year students. He also said that they'll be implementing that as well. I'm curious to see how all of it will pan out. But
starting with free SHS, the fact is that, and this is so undisputable, that some parents, many parents are so financially disabled that they cannot pay for the fees of their work in school. I remember some of us went through some hellish moments in school paying for our fees. And even though some of us were paying half scholarship by virtue of our positions in class, in those days, the first 10 students enjoyed half scholarship. I was fortunate to try on that. Even paying the half was a gargantuan problem. And so the free SHS has come to relieve many students, many parents of this financial burden. But at the same time, we also ought to bear in mind that perfection with any policy is an impossible goal. So free SHS, with all its positive sides, is one of the best social interventions in the history of this country. But at the same time, we all know that it has its challenges to the extent that some children were denied quality food, quality and regular food. I do recall that your station did a fantastic job.
Yep.
The empty plate in secondary schools.
Yeah.
This all reinforced the need to take a look at the free SHS. But the policy of the past government was that any attempt to review was going to dilute the entire policy of free SHS. So the ongoing review forum is a step in the right direction. Ideas do not reside in one person's head. Ideas do not flow from one source. Ideas flow from so many sources. So we're going to mobilize people, put them together to churn out ideas which will help us to refine and improve this policy. But cancelling it as articulated by the President should be out of the question.
Okay. Scrap COVID-19 levy.
I want to chip in on the free SHS. I've always said that free is good, but you can't do free when you can't fund it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the UK, how they implement it, there is stratification so that some parents are paying for feeding and a few other things. It's not blanket like we're paying everything for everybody. That's not how it's done. In the UK, what is their GDP? What is our GDP?
Single digits.
They are streamlining so that people who can pay certain components pay.
Yeah.
And we are not just sitting there, free for the masses. When you say this, people think I benefited in a way. I mentioned yesterday, my grandfather was a cocoa farmer. I didn't even benefit throughout secondary school. I benefited at the latter end. I benefited from the scholarship secretariat on merit at the University of Ghana. I was one of the few in that bracket, so I traveled to Cuba on merit. Okay. You get it? All of these are there. Like you were mentioning, half scholarships and all of that. That is when you identify the needs and then you realize that, for example, up north, the people there have benefited from free education for quite a while. Many people are not aware of it. You get it? If in the UK they are doing that, what is your economic situation? IMF and all of that. So these things must be stratified. You don't just go and do blanket. Everybody, free SHS is here to stay. It must stay. It will stay. And we thank God the president has said that. But you must think through the issues and not just do blanket. I was mentioning, the IMF told you this thing, the way you are implementing it, is not right. Yet some people think a blanket dispensation is the right thing to do. Let me remind Ghanaians, it's like the subsidies we had on electricity and stuff back then. You can equate that to it. Under Rawlings coming all the way. Why did we have to stop it? We realized it was not feasible. So my position is that let's stick with it, but let's streamline it such that it's so properly organized over time that the real people who need it are the best, the greatest beneficiaries. Exactly. So, for example, we wouldn't have the situation where people are getting poor quality food. Is that not part of it?
Yeah.
So that if the right things are done, those who can afford a certain level are able to bring their food and all of that, those who are benefiting from the system get a high quality of food. That is not just equality, equity. But you say it and people sometimes are very rash to, and this and that. I'm not referencing
the political
but I'm just saying that this is how we really
overshadow
the issue.
Prudence in implementing this policy.
I mean, it's a step in the right direction.
I think that's what the consultative stakeholders engagement forum, I think that's the whole point of it, so that we can assess where it needs to be reviewed, how do we use the money, because our biggest budget comes from the education ministry, you know, and so we need to understand really how we spend the monies that are going there. So hopefully we can wait patiently and see what the forum comes up with. Scrap COVID-19 levy, VAT on transit cargoes for efficiency at ports, that is Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Review Get Fund Act regulations to address financial challenges in education system, according to Professor Tuguba. On the back page, dedicate fund for public health emergency discussants, and LogNet pledges support for local government minister. These are some stories on the Ghanaian Times, in the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Ben?
Okay, let me quickly do the Daily Graphic newspaper. I'll start from, since you've already read some of the details of We'll Build Ghana Together, the SONA, I just wanted to highlight, if you go to page 3, the way it's captured here. President Mahamad's words wove a narrative of hope and resilience tempered by the sobering realities of a nation at the crossroads, painting a vivid picture of the challenges facing the country and its vision for a brighter future. I just want to say this. We have to get to the point where basically data cannot be contested. And the Ghana Statistical Service is helping us get there in that direction. Because you usually have some lies sometimes. And I'm not saying one group is at fault. By both of our major political entities spewed here and there. We must get to the point. Look, one thing I was certain of was that the dynamic of roads constructed by the former administration was not true. The thousands of kilometers that were, I spoke to experts and all of that. You can't resurface and do some other things. And it came up yesterday. But my concern, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with some stark realities. The president made mention of the fact that not a single Agenda 111 hospital was operational. And mind you, operationalizing it does not mean you've put it up. I think 3 were launched, inaugurated at the end of President Akufo-Addo's tenure. So you're asking yourself, over $400 million was disbursed for Agenda 111. Disbursed. It has gone out. $400 million. We don't have even one that is operational. And that brings to mind, though I didn't hear the president mention that, the National Cathedral. Another how many tens of millions
he didn't
of
touch
dollars.
on that,
Then you look at the fact that USAID has withdrawn all this money, over 130 million, that goes into antiretroviral drugs in the western and northern regions, malaria research, Noguchi's work, and all of that. And you realize we have a serious problem on our hands. And to add to that situation, then he tells you that the sinking fund now has only $64,000 and 143 million Ghana cedis left in it. And that for ESLA, what was left, or at least the benefits in there, of about, 45 billion. Now there's a debt of 70 billion. I was just trying to wrap my mind around the enormity, the stark realities. And I'm not trying to lampoon the MP. But if these are true, and again, that's why I'm saying that the data must, and if you follow, we must stop the lies. We must get to a point where no one can lie to us like this. Then this is disastrous. And getting here, I don't know how we could have possibly got here. But those are my reflections. I don't know whether you have anything to add on that, because that's the first bit I wanted to look at.
Yeah, I agree with you. And starting with the Agenda 111, I listened to one of the minority MPs, and he was saying that one could have been operational if not for the mass layoff of some nursing and medical staff. So they themselves admit that none of them is operational, you see. And I mean, $400 million is a lot of money. But I agree with you 100% that we need access to accurate data, because indeed it could be that they are not operational because of the probably the facilities or how it was built. You understand me? Because the $400 million was supposed to have been spent on these hospitals. However, if they are not operational, it does not necessarily mean that the $400 million went down the drain. You understand me?
But
so we need to
these have been disbursed.
Yes.
A lot of them are at various stages of completion.
Yes.
Let's not even talk about operationalization, because then you are thinking equipment.
Exactly.
You are thinking human resource. You are thinking other logistics. You remember what happened to the UGMC?
Yes.
Which is why I've always said that knowing the sort of political space, if I were a leader in this country, I would target projects that feasibly I can complete over 90% before I leave. So that whoever comes, whatever you decide to do, even if I wouldn't have cost the taxpayer, but realistically, you start an Agenda 111, 111 hospitals, some districts, some regional, and all of that. Realistically, what is the possibility of completing these? How many times did we postpone the... I mean, some of the things...
Maybe the calculation was
if you
that
think of it, it must be that someone wanted to chop something.
Yeah. In fact, one of the NPP MPs said yesterday that if they were still in power by now, they would have completed some of the
How many times?
And I thought, how long have they been in office? So they're saying that in these 2 months that the NDC took over, they would have been able to complete Agenda 111 hospitals.
To complete all the Agenda 111 projects within 2 months. Not at all.
Oh, well.
Sometimes they were banking their hopes on the election outcome to favor them. We did not.
It's true.
So it's a lesson we all ought to learn, that we need to filter whatever project we undertake through the tight weave of reality. Making sure that there's dedicated funding, making sure that, yes, we complete within a certain space. Otherwise, there's no point in spreading thin our meager resources.
And those are the basics of project management. You're looking at the use of money, time, value, and all of that within. That's project management.
Yes. But anyway, we have to take a close look at that, because, governance, the state, the government is there. It has perpetual succession. Whichever party takes over has to continue where the other left off. And sometimes there are times when you may not be lucky to win the election. So the politicians also have to be transparent with us. That this is what we are building, and it will take this number of years. But as you said, a lot of lies are put around, and we're even given definite dates. I think of the Sky Train. I was supposed to have a Sky Train September 2021. So they have to be very frank.
The one on the ground, cry. We know the scene.
They have to be very frank with us that we are building these hospitals. We'll finish in 8 years. We'll finish in 12 years. Otherwise, you get this backlash. So I think,
And Ben, on the state of the economy,
okay, so
I think in the name of comprehensive journalism, we'll tax the media community to go back and see what's actually left by the previous government. I think it's not something they can easily do. It's not a rocket science. They can go to statistical service, wherever, and then look at what was left in the books, so that this debate will end.
Part of the problem is that so many people are appointed by government that sometimes, if you look, I've had certain government officials, I can't mention, but not directly in government, but working with certain institutions. They come here and they will tell you that, this and that, but they can't say it on air. Do you understand? That is part of why the truth sometimes doesn't come to the fore. Because when government officials are saying something else, if you, that institution, to contradict? Who knows better? You come, which knows better? If you come and say something, your position, you are likely going to be sacked in the next how many hours? That's problematic. And I feel this is where we also have to concretize the work of the NDPC. If we're working properly, these political parties, all of us, with the NDPC properly, these political parties will not be able to do this. Lie, waste our money. Just look at it. 400 million for Agenda 111 and where we are. If it were an individual's money, would you expend your money that way?
Not at all.
What is the cost to the nation? What would be the cost of completion? Especially when you lampoon Saglemi, for example, and say there was wastage and all of that, then you shouldn't do some of these things. Look at the National Cathedral. How much have we expended on that? What do we have? Realistically, I think these are very problematic. And again, I'm making it clear. When I make these points, it's not for the NDC or against the MPP, or for the MPP against the NDC. Because there are times where when I was speaking against the NDC, people felt I was. But the point is, any government, and this government, if they go down that same road, they will get worse.
Yeah.
Since they are claiming they know better, if they go down that same rabbit hole, we'll follow them down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And this nonsense must stop, honestly.
Exactly.
There's a French journalist, French lawyer, Michel Montaigne, since a lawyer, who once said, I learn little from good examples, but more from bad examples, which serve as daily lessons. Michel Montaigne. So the bad examples in the past should serve as lessons.
Yes, for you to avoid.
Lessons for the present government to avoid.
Exactly.
Well, just to conclude on, we have a bit of time, but I'll also be snappy so that we can look at other things. I'll get to the international front shortly, but public debt stands at 721 billion Ghana cedis. In fact, yes, Ghana cedis, President Mahama reveals. And Ghana's public debt currently stands at a staggering 721 billion Ghana cedis, President Dramani Mahama said. This is in addition to the several state-owned enterprises that are also in debt. The SOEs include the ECG, which is indebted to the tune of 68 billion Ghana cedis, and the Ghana Cocoa Board, which is equally highly indebted to the tune of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis. It goes on and on. He talks about the $64,000 and $143 million that I mentioned was in the sinking fund. But you know, the ratio also changes depending on the exchange rate. So if the CD falls, the cost of our debt also rises. The little point I wanted to highlight here, again, we must be brutal. A nation's economy is run just the same way you would run a big business. It's just that this is on a much larger scale. If, Ghana, we were expending our money, forking out from our pockets, would we do with the SOE, some of these state-owned enterprises, what we are doing? A chunk of them, it's even in recent times that I think a few have started, a good chunk of them only bring in debt. Year on year, they are incurring losses. Yet we are paying their CEOs, board, and other members fat salaries. 70,000 Ghana cedis, 80,000 Ghana cedis, 100,000 Ghana cedis, 60,000 Ghana cedis. For what? For what work?
You're dropping salary levels.
Then the perks of their work, other benefits, even when they are done with their work. You saw the wrangling recently at one of the, I don't want to mention, the institutions where someone said, I will not go. And then certain revelations. It's not that we've not known. But
SIC.
If people are getting these chunks of money, resources, what does the ordinary Ghanaian get? Even labor recently, 10% because of where we are. So the ordinary person, public service, is earning chicken change. Look at teachers in this country are earning chicken change.
Even doctors.
Someone gets a job, whether for party or whatever, at some of these places, and they are earning all these sums of money. For what work, really? In the US and other places, if a company makes a certain outturn, then the executive can reward itself. Here, you are incurring losses and rewarding yourself. What logic is that?
Exactly.
So this reinforced the need for salary rationalization, and TUC and the president also promised to embark on this journey.
In fact, the minister was also saying they were going to change what fair wages into something, remuneration and productivity outfit or so, so that they can streamline how they can match your inputs. This is what you get. Maybe this is a way to go, but let me not take the win out of this.
So we learn from all these mistakes.
Do we learn? Doesn't look like we are learning after your money.
We are obliged to learn from these mistakes. Otherwise, we repeat them. And this repetition will come with disastrous consequences. Because our democracy is on test. As you know, there's a mismatch between democratic supply and democratic demand. And this government cannot and must not and dare not fail. Otherwise, it will spell a disaster of epic proportions for this country. As many people are watching, many of those who have lost confidence, who have lost trust in governance, and this is a blanket truth that some may even welcome unconstitutional change in government, as happening in our neighboring countries. But we ought not go there because we've tried the rest. We also what happened after the 6. Ghana went back, centuries back. And you can't compare democracy with dictatorship. In fact, dictatorship and democracy do not belong to the same sentence. There's nothing common about them. And so once we decided in the referendum in 1992 to abandon the bullet course and embrace the ballot box, please, let's ensure that we play the game according to its rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could add to that,
Sure.
it's a very important.
Sweetie, I've not heard your thoughts or something. I want to hear them before I continue.
And even one of the things that came to mind is in the States, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, he's in charge of this department called DOGE.
Yeah, government. Department of Government Efficiency.
No, they asked the other one.
Department of Government Efficiency.
And it's funny that the man who can buy whatever he wants in the world is clamoring for cuts to be done, which shows that the best way to gain wealth is to check your spending. Somebody will think that this man has so much money, he can just throw it into the States. And no, there's this mentality of, oh, let's just make more money, everything will be fine. No, but we stick to our budgets, we cut the expenses where we have to. And we spoke of how businesses operate abroad, the bonus system. So you have the CEOs having fairly low salaries. At the end of the year, looking at your productivity, then you get a bonus because a country with a minimum wage of, is it 560 Ghana cedis a month? And then you see what some of the CEOs of state-owned enterprises are earning. That means that if you do the calculations well, they may even be earning per hour what somebody earns in a whole month. I mean, it's not the best. It's not the best. And regarding the 721 billion debt, I was listening to an item on Ghana's top 5 export countries, which the number 1 is China, number 2 UAE, there's UK, there's US. I've forgotten the 5th one, which gives us a clue there that these rich countries don't make their money from the domestic economy per se. They export.
Yeah.
You understand me? They export. That's why this in Nkukon, Kitinkiti and other things are exciting. If Ghanaians will grab it with both hands, we could also go into the frozen chicken industry and we'll rather export it to other countries to feed the nation and bring our debts down. Because we even have a small population. You cannot really climb out of this debt hole by just concentrating. And every Ghanaian is capable enough to export something. You don't necessarily have to go into agric
or if you can't do it yourself, that is where you have to create, and later I'll talk about this, you have to create the environment for some people to thrive more, business people, and when those individuals, that's why you have Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett. So some individuals will thrive to the highest level, and then they'll create jobs for a lot of people. You don't necessarily have to have everybody inventing something. It was, I've forgotten who came into the studio, and he was mentioning that Burkina Faso alone, per his analysis, if we look at our exports to them and we ramp things up, looking at factoring in, there's a term in economics that you know, I've forgotten, where your best productivity is.
Comparative advantage.
Comparative advantage. Then you will know that you can harness this, push more in that area, and we could be making $5 billion from just Burkina Faso. Imagine that. How much did we go to the IMF? So it's about knowing your areas of strength, going full throttle on those areas, ensuring that, but the way we do our things here,
that is perfect. And even if Burkina Faso also has a comparative advantage in something, we also take it in. We support each other. And I believe that we'll rise together.
Rather, we'll import chicken from Brazil. Do you know how far? I've been there, so I know how many.
And if you look at those who import, they're political forces.
Oh, yeah.
Political heavyweight. And why is to stop them?
Our job requires us to speak up on these things. But sometimes I wonder to what end? Because it's not as if the leaders don't know what's right. It's not as if they don't know the solution to the problems. I mean, we sit here every day and we talk about it. We all know that if they really wanted a solution, one-stop solution to fix our problems, they know where to get it, and they will get it, and it will work. Okay, so sometimes when we are pussyfooting with issues, this issue about salaries, there was a time that all these people taking 80,000 and the rest, were taking somewhere around 5,000-7,000, they were okay. Then greed started seeping in slowly. Then they get there and they realize, oh, it's state-owned institution, I can get more. And then they greed, and then they keep going and going, and they forget that by doing that, they are also widening the gap, the disparity between the rich and the poor. It keeps opening up because they want to keep it for the select few who are privileged enough to get there without thinking that it trickles down to what's happening at the grassroots. And one day you wake up and these people will pick up. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. This is how it started. No, really, this is how it starts. You know, people get tired of watching the few elitist people spend the money, and all of us are here struggling. I'm not saying that I don't know for you, maybe you're not struggling. But you know what I mean? This is how war starts. This is how, you know, revolution starts. This is how people pick up arms. This is how Kenya and Burkina Faso, this is how it starts. So I think that when you wanted to hear my thoughts, we should go past the rhetoric, the pussyfooting, and I will do this. Do it. You know, do it. I think that I agree with those who are saying, yeah, we've heard you. It's no longer time for you to be saying, I will do this, I am doing that, this is what I left. Okay, Mr. President, do it.
Indeed, he must do it. But it's also important, like Kwame Nkrumah Botsi mentioned, we must know where we are to be able to know where we can go. There's
we all know where we are.
There's an interesting comment that comes through.
Except that some decide to play us.
Benjamin, we know where we are.
Some decide
to
play us.
The Deputy Finance Minister says even the president was charitable. That's the way the thing did. But I have an interesting comment. Natogma, I don't know whether that's his real name or her real name. In fact, the discussions on the Joy News TV channel this morning is so politically biased. We're all here in this country when the NDC said at the launch of Agenda 111 that the time was too short for the NPP to get government to be able to complete even a single project. It reminds me of the Bible, right? It says it's only a fool who starts a project without counting the cost. Midway.
He said that this morning,
I have to say that. But Natogma, your comment itself tells you, if someone cautioned you that, hey, this thing you are about to do, and you went ahead and did it, and not just with your money, with our money, what does that make you?
Whether you believe it or not, the Bible is a perennial spring of wisdom, an infallible guide of conduct. So we can...
I want to counter the point I just made, just so that I'm fair to everybody. You know that around this time, a few years ago, 8 years ago, we were hailing when former President Akufo-Addo was talking about, by the end of my tenure, this will happen. I will do this. And we're hailing. We thought we'd got the Messiah, you know. And 8 years down the line, we were waiting impatiently to boot him out. You get what I mean? And so, in as much as it's early days yet for the NPP, I think it's time we actually start holding their feet to account, right? So that they don't get complacent, so that they don't get comfortable, so that they don't think that, okay, they can come and honeymoon for 2 years, and when they have 2 more years to exit, then they start commissioning things here and there. This is the time for us to talk. So what we are doing is apt.
President Mahama doesn't even have 2 years.
Well,
those who have said, you see, he has 1 term.
1 term, yeah.
After about 1.5 years, 2 years, some party people will start wrangling for the next leadership of the party.
Oh, it started already. It started already.
Wait, right now it's just subtle.
Some names are
at that point, it will be full blown. And then that is where you see people's focus shift from the real business of government, and some of them will be focusing more on their individual priorities, becoming this and becoming that. So realistically, he has about 2 years within which to get things done. Within that period, there will be no, like, we'll flay them. We'll hold, you know, a horse whip. We will not, because once you leave the politician a little, he or she starts to take their foot off the gas.
And we've seen it, Ben. We've seen it happen. You know? So let's let no one take their feet off the brakes. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's hit at them hard. Let's critique. That brings something to attention. I don't know if I should even be speaking about it. Our parliamentary affairs correspondent brought something to attention yesterday about how they were restricting media houses from entering, some sort of censorship. And I'm saying to myself, well, if President Mahama wants to enjoy the the goodwill of the people of Ghana. Well, I don't know. It's only GTV, and I hear, was it Ways also that were allowed in, and they said they'll give them clean feed. And so some of the other media houses' cameras were not allowed to go in there.
Oh.
I don't think, if this is what's happening, I think you really should look at it. It's a terrible start.
Yeah.
We put you there because you said we were going to build the Ghana we want together. So it's not time for you yet to start censoring and deciding who gets to see what. And you don't, what that does is they show us what they want us to see.
Come out.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's dangerous.
Exactly.
You just spoke about, press freedom in America. We should be talking about, we should hit hard at this so that they don't do that.
Right.
Ben.
Let me just do this. We have to cross over very quickly. We'll be right back into the studio. There's renewed fighting between the Nanik Bimbago communities in the Northeast region, and Ilyasu Tanko, our Northeast regional correspondent, is on hand. Ilyasu, what exactly is happening?
Very troubling news coming from the Nanik and Bimbago community, which is located in the Bunkrugu-Nakpanduri district of the Northeast region. As we speak, we are getting reports that there's active fighting ongoing between these two communities. We have confirmed that from the Regional Security Council chairman, who is the minister, and also the member of parliament for the area. As we speak, we understand that the security forces are unable to move in because of the fighting that is currently ongoing. There are several casualties that are feared in the area. As we speak, there are reports that the Nanik community is completely razed, and there's active shootings or fighting ongoing in these two communities.
And looking at the circumstances, do we know of the underlying trigger?
Exactly. Sometime in September of last year, there was a renewed violence in that particular area because of chieftaincy. So what is happening is that the community of Bimbago, they are challenging the elevation of the chief of Nanik to the paramountcy. They are alleging that the land in which the Nanik people are settling belongs to them. They willingly gave it out to the Nanik chief. And so they will not allow the Nairi, who is the overlord of the area, to enskin or elevate the chief of Nanik to the paramountcy. And so this is the underlying cause of the conflict. Last year, before the tension renewed, there was press conferences, there were demonstrations in the Bimbago community against the elevation of the Nanik chief. And that did not yield any intended results, so to speak. And so that led to this particular violence, as we are learning.
And we hear there are casualties. What are we talking in terms of numbers, in terms of the state of injuries, and what is the involvement of the police so far?
Well, all these details are still unclear, as we've confirmed from very high level sources, simply because the security forces' efforts to intervene is being hampered or are being hampered by the ongoing fighting. Like I said, there's active shootings, there's active fighting still ongoing, which is essentially hampering the effort of the security forces to intervene. So we hear of serious reports of serious devastation, like I mentioned. We are getting reports that the Nanik community is completely razed down, and there's shooting that is currently ongoing.
Wow. There must be a state of panic then, I mean, on the back of these circumstances. Is there anything else we should know, Ilyasu, before you take leave of us?
Well, the member of parliament for the area mentioned that there had been signals last night that he promptly informed the security forces. And so he's at lost why this still happened. And he's calling for immediate intervention, especially the security forces, because it seems to appear that because of the situation, the security forces are also waiting for the situation to, subside before they move in. The member of parliament is saying that under these circumstances, the security forces should find a way to move in immediately to prevent further damages.
I see. Just a quick afterthought. The regional minister, do you know whether there is awareness of the situation and what actions may follow from this morning? Do you have any idea?
The regional minister confirmed that he's aware of the situation, that he has been informed by the security forces in that particular area. He mentioned that immediately he took over, the issue was on his table. He invited those he called the interested parties and discussed them with them, and they assured him that they were going to keep the peace in that particular area. At the moment, he said that they are going to convene an immediate Regional Security Council meeting to discuss this matter.
Ilyasu, we are grateful for your time this morning. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. We also have the Member of Parliament for that area joining the conversation, Honorable Bankrugu. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, I got your name wrong. Dr. Abednego, right?
Yeah, Dr. Abednego Bandim.
Right. Thank you for joining the conversation. Now, what do you know so far in terms of what triggered this renewed clash, and what actions have been taken so far?
Well, we picked up signals that this was likely to happen this morning. So accordingly, we alerted...
Please hold for me. You say you picked up signals that this was likely to happen this morning?
Yes, so accordingly, we alerted the police command and the few army personnel on the ground, and that to be on their alert. And then just early this morning, as it was rumored, then my information is that some communities have been under attack. So I've just finished talking to the security commanders on the ground for them to take action immediately.
Would you say enough was done after the tip-off to maybe avert this? Because you want to be proactive, not reactive.
Yes, definitely. I mean, yes, enough was done. You know, there are some challenges that we face. The number of police on the ground and then also the army backup are not enough, which we have reported. You know, so the government was working to increase their numbers and then ensure that a camp is created over there. You know, so as we speak, the police is on their way to the community and the army as well. They are all on their way to the communities. If you understand the distance from the district, Bunkrugu, and the area where there are these attacks are quite far. So we are working to establish a base over there. This was last night, almost after 1 a.m. that I got an information. So immediately...
So it was basically this morning?
Come again?
It was basically this morning, if you're mentioning 1 a.m. So it was actually this morning you got the tip?
Yeah, this morning, exactly, yes. Yes, this morning. Yes, that is right. So the police are, as we speak, are on their way with some army backup on the ground. So they are currently, they are almost there. I think they are there as we speak.
I see.
Well, I'm sure your people are listening to you. What do you have to say to them?
No, I just returned from the constituency about a week ago. I went round to meet with various stakeholders in the various communities to appeal for peace so that development can take place. The area is impoverished. There is no water. Schools are not operating. The few CHIPS compounds that are there, the staff have bolted. They have left the area. So the people themselves are suffering. Those whose houses have been burnt, they don't have clothing even to wear. No food, because their food items were also burnt down. No place to sleep. The women and children especially are suffering. So I can only appeal for them to put down their arms and let's all embrace peace so that we can develop it. Government is doing best, so that some developmental projects that forestall continue. But if there is no, we cannot develop. Government cannot develop. In fact, over the years, they have used the developmental finances that should have been used to improve on schools and healthcare delivery to cater for peacekeepers, the army and the police on the ground. So basically, there is nothing to write home about when it comes to development, because our sheer common fund and other finances that comes are used for peacekeeping purposes, and it is not helping us at all. So I can only appeal for peace to reign in the area so that we can do our best to develop the area.
Doc, are you confident that this can be contained without spilling over to neighboring communities and, escalating into something bigger?
That was our fear, that it had the potential to escalate or spread to other communities. If you look at the way the people are, the settlements of the people. But I believe that if we establish a base, both army and police base in the area, it will not spill over. I am very confident of that. So it's one of the recommendations that I have given the Minister for Interior, that both police and army base is established around Bimbagu and Ngangmaburuk area. I think when that is done, there will be peace.
To the best of your knowledge, any casualties in terms of lives lost, people injured?
Not at all, because I understand that even as we speak, some houses were being burned, and they could hear the sound of gunshots and all of that. So we are not able to assess the situation unless the army and the police gives me some information with regards to lives and the amount of properties that are damaged. As of now, I cannot confirm anything yet.
Concluding
what
thoughts,
I know is that there are gunshots and some houses are being touched. That I'm told.
Concluding thoughts from my end, the issue of arms comes to play. How are you going to deal with that situation? Arms in the hands of so many members of these communities. And secondly, in the immediate term, today, what actions are you looking to bring to bear? The RegSec, the regional minister, we are told, is in the know. What are the actions that we can look forward to today to quell the situation?
Yes, already, as I indicated earlier on, we have been very proactive. There was a meeting between the regional minister and the various stakeholders, family heads and chiefs, had a meeting at the regional council. And after that meeting, all the recommendations that were made or observed were forwarded to Accra. That was before I visited the area, and also came back with my own report and recommendation. So we are working with the Ministry of Interior to implement the recommendations that we came out with. We will continue to engage the various activities. We know we'll continue to engage and see how best we can bring peace. But there will be some form of retrieving arms, individual arms, and that we have to work with the security experts to come out with a strategy to that effect. There is no doubt that they are heavily, they are heavily, according to the police and army.
Okay.
When they hear the guns, they are able to determine kind of weapons that are being used for them. So we have to come out with a clear plan of retrieving those. But we have to secure the very, very fast before we can think about retrieving them.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing us the honors. That is Dr. Abednego Bandim. He is a member of parliament for Bumpurugu. He joined the conversation, and we pray for the best in that community. Coming back into the studio, quick reflection.
People are just sitting dogs, man. No, it's dangerous. Nobody can access the place. They're just sitting and waiting for military, and it could spill over. There's nothing they can do about it. This is scary, isn't it?
You know, I really sympathize with the MP. I mean, in my area of practice, I face similar issues occasionally. I mean, you'll be surprised how close to home these things are. But almost all the time, because of the presence of the police, we're able to nip it in the bud. I mean, there are many times where we may have a hint that somebody is installing a rival chief. And I don't want to go into details. You rush to the nearest police station. And there was one commander who dealt with it so well. He has, I mean, the opinion leaders, stakeholders, chiefs on speed dial on his phone. He immediately called him, put him on speakerphone, and said, we hear this is what you are trying to do. You want to install this chief here and there. And we are warning you, if you disturb the peace, we are going to deal with you. And that is all. I want to see you next week, this. And then you're able to gather both sides and have some peace. Everybody explains their side. But if in this situation they don't have adequate police, and I know these areas are maybe quite remote, it gives people the ability to misbehave when they have a bit of arms. So I'm sure His Excellency, the various state agencies are listening. I think when it comes to the security arrangement, there should be a lot of attention paid to these areas as well, because you may think because the population is small and spread over a very wide area, you don't need so many security personnel, but we really have to.
Hopefully the security will not be hesitant, because
we'll be hesitant to blame intelligence failure in this conflict, because other antecedents were known. This is a conflict-prone area, and we saw that no, it was going to happen. It was a bomb which was bound to explode. But yet, I think there was some slowness somewhere in responding adequately to the magnitude of this issue. So we up our game in proportion to the magnitude of this issue.
We'd had reports of alleged military brutality up north.
Yeah.
And although the military, or should I say security forces, have not come out to clear the air, I know that, off air, they're raising concerns about why we're, amplifying these allegations of military brutality. Hopefully, they are not hesitant to go in there and nip this in the bud, because of the reports we are getting that the military are only brutalizing.
But also,
the
they shouldn't be gung-ho and brutal.
Well, there are two sides of, yes, exactly.
That's
so I'm just saying that this is the time for them to actually show up for these people. Show up for them, regardless of what your issues may be, what they're saying about you. Show up, because these are lives that matter.
And also, the various parties should take advantage of the judicial system. We have various judicial bodies to take care of these chieftaincy issues. It doesn't always have to resort to violence. And we've been able to codify a lot of the processes for installing chiefs. So you submit it, and you know that you get a fair hearing. Sometimes there may be some ignorance out there that this can only be solved with arms. But there are avenues for redress.
And this is a wake-up call for the security agencies to also look at other flashpoints and deal surgically with such issues before they explode into full-blown conflict, as we are seeing in this area.
Well, let's do some other newspapers.
Yes.
Maybe, you have the Daily Democrat.
Daily Democrat, pro-NDC paper, I will fix the mess, quoting Mahama. And traditional herbalists call for government support. Immigration service foils cocoa smuggled in drums at Gabliri checkpoint. Kudos to our immigration officers. Interior Minister pledges reform and support for immigration service. And the boss of immigration service is urging investigation into the purchase of 20 new 30-seater buses for the service. There's controversy surrounding the purchase of these buses. So Mr. Techi, who is the Kwame Techi, Isua Techi Esquire, is calling for investigations. I know him personally. He's one of the standard examples of leaders we have in this country, and we ought to respond adequately to and timeously to what he's calling for before it also explodes into something else. Daily Democrats, for you. And at the back page, Daily Democrat, Mahama vows tough action against Galamsey menace. This was at a forum in Accra, which solicited views on how to fight Galamsey. Some progress is being made, but early this year to conclude that we
want to see a lot more action on Galamsey. Yes. Of course, we've heard the minister, and in the SONA, the president reiterate that. But like Sweetie has been saying, we want to see the action. This is not time for talk. This is not time for talk.
Yes, it's.
I mean, I know they have to approach it with caution, so you don't. But action is what we want to see.
A combination of caution and ruthlessness.
Yeah, I like that. Ruthlessness.
Fighting Galamsey is like feeding a shark. Once you stop, the shark will eat you up. Yes. So we need relentless action.
Okay. We have to go, but I have to do this quickly. I want to celebrate one of Ghana's biggest exports. Is it to the UK? Ruth Botio.
Oh, yeah.
you see, I've saved your life.
Oh,
she would have finished
happy birthday to my dear sister, Ruth. Yes. Thank you.
So from Ruth, from me, that is Benjamin, and Jonas, I'll not mention the rest of Jonas's name. Ruth, we wish you...
And I as well. And your brother...
And
happy birthday, Ruth Botio.
This one also going out to Esther Nkrumah's niece. Happy birthday, Sophia Bois. 1 year ago, you came into this world and brought a whole new meaning into our lives. Watching you grow has been a beautiful blessing. And today, as you turn 1, I pray that the Lord keeps you and guides you as always. May you fulfill your purpose, walk in His light, and continue to bring endless smiles to our faces. With love, your auntie Esther Nkrumah. Esther is a production assistant here at Joy News. Yeah, Esther, she's 1 year old. Will she hear all this? Happy birthday! But that's a segment for the news review segment. Stay, because sports comes up next, and after we get into our big stories. And then, of course, E-Corner comes your way, and Benjamin Akako's blunt thoughts. All still to come on the AM
conclude, show. Happy birthday in advance to all new and old students of Agri Memorial Zero and SHS.
Okay.
We are celebrating our 85th anniversary next week.
Wow. 85th?
85, underlined. Yeah.
Well, okay. Happy anniversary to everyone, and happy
Dorothy,
birthday.
our teaching staff, Amosa, members, happy birthday. We all storming Cape Coast next week.
Okay.
Over there.
Okay. Stick and stay. We'll be right back on the AM show.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's been a number of weeks now since I've been on leave. We're back. Time for blunt thoughts. And I've titled it today, The State of the Nation, Our Economy, Galamsey, and the Way Forward. The State of the Nation, Our Economy, Galamsey, and the Way Forward. And my apologies, some of you have become used to getting this at around 9-something today. We've done a little switcheroo. But here's what I want to do. On the back of the SONA and everything that has happened, I am going to insist we ought to do better when it comes to data in this country. Let's know what the facts are so that no one can tell us what is not true, so that the data will reveal what our reality is. This morning, I've been calling for the NDPC and our political parties to be more integrated. Our political parties are intentional, NDC and MPP sometimes, because they have their agenda. But what is the national agenda? we ought to hold these political parties to that fire of accountability so that they can't come and do some of what they do and waste some of the money they waste, and guess who pays? We do. And let's face it, all of them, sometimes it is contracts here, contracts there, they are benefiting. They are lining their pockets. They are siphoning our resources. Resources that could have gone into that school in your community, that medical facility in your community, that road that is so bad, that could have gone into that. That could have gone into better services for all of us. We can't keep doing this, regardless of whose ox is God, regardless of which party is in power. I don't care. And I've made mention of it. The NDC may have a small honeymoon that we are giving them, a little honeymoon. Beyond that, it's going to be bloody blue, like in the US they'll say murder in a figurative context, because we can't keep allowing some of what happens. I was saying just this morning, look at our state-owned enterprises. A lot of them bring in zilch, zero, nothing. And look at what we pay their executives. Makes no sense. We are not angry enough when it comes to those issues. And that anger doesn't necessarily have to do with this current administration. It has gone on for so long, but that anger ought to be brought to bear even as we look at our constitutional review and the new commission that has been set up to relook at some of these developments. Now, going back to some very salient issues. You see, yes, sir. You look at the size of our current government in terms of ministers and deputies. The president promised 60. He is sticking to his guns. We salute him for that. But we can do even better. We can do better. After all, I don't know whether this would have come to bear. The former vice president, Dr. Bawumia, promised 50 ministers, right? We can do even better than 50. So, like Oliver Twist, we are going to ask for more. Mr. President, you've done quite a bit with this by sticking to your promise, though the minority leader was saying, oh, own up to Ghanaians and apologize. And I think a man must stick to his word. And I think the president is doing that, which is good. But sometimes we have to delve deeper into the data. Some may say, but what does this mean for us? So look at it this way. Ministers and deputies in the previous government were 85. And that was after it had been whittled down from 100 plus. Mohammed's promise was 60. The average monthly salary, 30,202. It remains the same, right? 30,000. If you look at the total annual cost, you are looking at 30.8 million for the previous government. Mohammed's promise, 21.7 million. That means already we've saved what? 9.1 million Ghana cedis just by listing the appointments and sticking to the number. Next slide. Now, in terms of cutting down the size of government, how much will then be saved between 2025 and 2028 when we go to the polls again? You are looking at almost 40 million Ghana cedis, 36.3 million Ghana cedis. You are looking at 9+ million per year. What that also means is this does not include other perks that the ministers will get, the freebies, the perks of the job, and other things that would have factored in. We've not factored all of that in here. Next slide. What then that means is if you're looking at close to 40 million Ghana cedis, okay, saved over 4 years, what could we have done with that? It can build many schools in some communities. It can build some patches of roads. It can lead to development. What this means is that if we cut down on wastage, not just in terms of appointments, but in many other spheres of our national life, imagine how much more we could be saving from wastage. In fact, one of the biggest sources of spending in Africa and in Ghana is wastage. And we see it in the Auditor General's reports all the time. If we stemmed the tide of that, if we cut the blood flow of wastage to the cancer of wastage, only God knows how much we could save and how much better we could do for the ordinary Ghanaian. But then you also get to the bit about taxes being scrapped. And of course, we know the promise, the e-levy, COVID-19 levy, and betting tax. Let's look at the dynamics. Next slide. If you look at these taxes, the lost revenue over time, 13.91 billion from the COVID-19 levy, e-levy 8.27 billion. That is, if you're looking at 2025 to 2027. And then the betting tax, 5.1 billion. We've given you these details before. But if we lose this, where are we going? How will we bolster our economy and get taxes to pay for some of what we ought to? This government has spoken about cutting wastage, some of which we are seeing. Early days yet, let's not celebrate yet, but at least positive signs we are seeing so far. And widening the tax net, which has become like a ritual for every government to talk about. But how can we actualize that? Time will tell. Next slide. Now, if you look at the lost revenue, 2025 to 2027, we are looking at 27.9 billion Ghana cedis. The money must be coughed up from somewhere. Where will it come? Next slide. Then you look at our debt service obligations in 2025 alone, like you see behind me, $10.85 billion that we are looking at, which then makes me scratch my head in terms of our sinking fund and what is left in there. The $64,000 or $63,000 plus the $143 million. And then you look at ESLA and what was left in there, the about $45 billion and the $70 billion Ghana cedi debt that is left. You see, I keep saying efficiency, effectiveness. The way NDC and MPP up to this point, at least we are hoping this will be new, have run this country. No proper business. In some instances, let me be fair, in some instances, because the MPP in some instances has done well, Kufuor especially, and coming down to some of them, Atta Mills and Mahama, have done a bit here and there. No one is all bad. But if you look at the inefficiencies, you'd realize that we have literally dug ourselves intentionally into a hole. How can you expend over 400 million, and I'm talking dollars, on a project? And for the members of the MPP, I say, we don't care about this. If you have the evidence, show us. For the members of the MPP who may counter this, if this has been disbursed and we have our Agenda 111 hospitals in the state in which they are, how are they commensurable? Cost versus value. Where's the value? And we have so many of such projects from the past leading to now. How can we develop as a country when we keep doing this? Now, 10.85 billion is our debt service obligation. Let's go to the next slide. But then we get to this important part, which also feeds into the conversation of how our economy is going. You see, I always like some honesty. Let's listen to the former vice president. The least a party that campaigned on jobs could do under conditions of unemployment is to innovate and create jobs rather than dismiss people. I like the vice president for innovative thinking, but sometimes. Next slide. Regrettably, these dismissals have been extended to directors who are public servants and not politicians. In some cases, the only reason for dismissal was that the individuals whose livelihoods have been destroyed are known to or related to politicians, as if to suggest that they cannot live independent professional lives regardless of their qualifications. Next slide. And let's look at this bit before I come back and share my thoughts with you. When I came to power, now we come to the current president. When I came to power, I left most of these public sector workers. But when this MPP government, and we're going back to 2017, right, took over, they dismissed them, and this is a bad precedent for our governance because potentially government can change in every 4 years. So if another government takes over, it means all those working in the public sector have to be dismissed for a new crop of employees to take over, and this is bad for governance. Next slide. Shall we check out the next one? Okay, so before I get here, I agree. Some of this must stop. But I'm also saying that you can't sneak in some of the numbers we see at the 11th hour and expect that to be okay. It is not okay. I feel we ought to get to the point where when a government is in its dying embers, you have the power, but maybe ethically, morally, whether you are NDC, MPP, CPP, whatever, some things should not be done. And when I get to the mining leases that were granted, that's another ethical issue, but I'll get there shortly. But wait, when the MPP did it in 2017, when Dr. Bawumia was a fresh vice president, was that against plutocracy? Was it not also against democracy? By his own words and reasoning, was that not too against the very thing he's talking about? The former vice president speaks of arbitrary dismissals. But how about his government's arbitrary and politically cooked recruitment? Let's talk about that too. You cannot pick and choose depending on how you're affected by certain actions, sir. Look, hold for me. I have people in the security services that I know who are apolitical. They don't even get involved in anything. Thankfully, this administration has said, for those who were recruited into the security services, we are not touching you. I think that was a good move. You can't say that all of them are politically aligned, but at the same time, when there is this thing done at a certain time, it creates suspicions. Principle is key in such discussions. If you will come seeking purported justice, then you must show that you yourself have been just. You cannot be seen to be unjust and yet criticize others for precisely what you did. There's a name for that. It's crass hypocrisy. My position on this is simple. Don't make many and worrisome last-minute appointments after you've lost an election, period. It's not to say you can't appoint at all, but the numbers you are pushing in, who is going to pay them? Look at the public sector wage bill. You can't employ such huge numbers, especially when it is clear a lot of them may, M-A-Y, very well be aligned to your political party. And when you are leaving behind an economy as sick as a dog, I simply cannot support you in that enterprise. I always use the benchmark of private business. Which private business, whose boss has been relieved of his duty, but has been asked to stay at post for, say, a month per his or her contract, till a new manager is chosen, will be allowed to make such last-minute decisions and get away with it? And will those decisions be allowed to stand? I mean, let's be reasonable here. I don't care whether you are NDC or NPP doing this. It's sickeningly wrong, simple, and we must address it. The final bit I'll do, my time is done. The 318 mining licenses, we've spoken about it ad nauseum. 6 within the last 6 days of the former administration. If you go to the next slide, let's go to the next slide, please. Then you look at the dates. January 1st, initial check 67, update 276. January 2nd, initially 11, then 11. January 3rd, 19, then update 23, and then January 6th, 5, then 8. Look at that within 6 days, granted, 318. Maba, why? Why? That's the question. You see, this is what gives me a lot of cause for worry when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. If you sneak in these at the tail end, what were we trying to do? What were we hoping to achieve? 6 days, 318. Never even within the 8-year period of the MPP did this happen. But well, me, I just put the information out there. You do the reasoning, read between the lines, and decide for yourself. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. As always, I pray, may God bless Ghana and make her great and strong. And may He give us leaders after His own heart, like David in the Bible, who will serve us with love for God and country. Thank you for watching. Welcome back. Before we delve into the salient issues on the SONA and its aftermath, Medicas Hospital, a modern healthcare facility, has been built with your recovery in mind. And we know that is a great outfit if you actually want to get medical attention. They have spacious wards built with your family in mind, a warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And they have assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yosafo, the drive time doctor, to serve you. They offer general medical services as well as specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. To boot, they offer a comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans. And they also have a 24-hour pharmacy, ensuring you'll always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicine. And they bring to you the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness and empathy. And they take pride in holding themselves to the highest attainable standards. And they also accept all forms of payment, including from private health insurance companies. All you have to do now, locate Medicas Hospital at number 10 Kinto Street, near the Ashale Botre School Junction. You can call them on 0501 477 340. On social media at Medicas GH. Medicas Hospital, a place of healing. Well, joining us for a conversation on these all-important matters, especially as President Mahama has said that the economy is broken on many fronts. But while he delivers that verdict, the minority is saying he should stop lamenting and fix the country, fix the situation. Where do we go from here? What is the take of our guests joining the conversation this morning? Well, we'll find out from them. Joining the conversation, we have Benjamin Kwashi. He is a member of, he is the chair, Council of Elders chair, NDC South Africa. We also have Kwame Nkrumah Bozio, Osajefo himself. He is General Secretary of the CPP, joining the conversation. We shall have other guests on board also as we delve into this all-important conversation. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm saying good morning to you for the second time.
Yeah. Yes.
It's good to have you join the conversation.
Good.
I'll start with you, Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
Today is a momentous day. So what did you make of the SONA? What did you make of the expectations you had vis-a-vis what you heard Mr. President deliver?
Well, as I said before on an earlier program, the SONA is meant to capture three key things: where we are as a nation, where we need to go, and how we will get there. When it comes to where we are, I think I was quite shocked with the revelations as to what is in our coffers. But of course, all this data will be subjected to further scrutiny. To see whether it is as serious as the situation is. Regarding where we need to go, I was very encouraged. I think there's a Bible verse that, to paraphrase, that out of affliction arises great things, more or less.
Yeah.
You can tell, it is very evident that His Excellency's 8 years in opposition has really helped him. His focus is, I mean, more like eagle-eyed focus. He's extremely focused. And how we will get there is something that I think most people reading it will be quite touched with how we'll get there. There are various economic policies outlined. However, throughout, interspersed in the full text, you have His Excellency talking about how two heads are better than one, how everybody's view will be taken into consideration in order to move us forward. I can feel the inclusivity in His Excellency's text. And I pray that he adheres to that inclusivity. Because leading up to this 50th day, there had been a lot of acrimony and let's go after them. Of course, if somebody has looted, we need that money to develop the country. But I think this sounded very, let me say, it was more of a reconciliation speech to try and bring everybody on board. And it has energized a lot of people, including me, to give our all for the country, especially on this memorable day that we remember those who gave their all for the country: Sergeant Ajeti, Corporal Atipo, and Private Odate Lamte. All of us in our corner, at work, wherever we are, we should look at how we can save costs, how we can cut costs, how we can give our all, not only for the present generation, but also for posterity.
Thank you for those initial thoughts. Your initial reactions?
Well, I think for the first time in a very long while, this has been the SONA that has resonated with a lot of people. For me, my takeout was the honesty within which the president outlined the problems that we had as a nation. I think listening to other pundits discuss the SONA, people have indicated that the president went in there to lament. I beg to disagree that the president didn't go there to lament. The president enumerated the problems we had as a people, what he came in to inherit, and the solutions that he proffered to solve the problems that we have all inherited as a country. Look, Ghana, like the president said, is an economic crime scene in terms of some of
an economic crime scene.
Yes. Because of some of Ben, I know you would disagree, but that is the truth. The bleak, the stark truth that looks us in the face, it's some of the revelations that the president gave us, some of the revelations that would come in the days and weeks ahead. And for us as a people, it is not about making excuses. It is not about President Mahama running away from his responsibility as a commander-in-chief and the leader of the NDC. Remember, the NDC came into power on the back of a manifesto. That manifesto the president has not run away from. That manifesto the president has not said that he's not going to help achieve the tenets of that manifesto. But we should understand as a people that it looked bleak, there's hope, and there's a president who has said that he's going to do everything in his power to fix the mess that he has inherited, to fix the country, to fix the economy. Speaking about that, we know youth unemployment on its high ascendancy. The president has indicated what he wants to do. In all other sectors, in the sector of education, he told us what he wants to do, the reforms he seeks to achieve. In finance, he told us what he believes that we should be able to do. Top of the agenda is the president's belief that we should plug the loopholes in our financial sector so that we'll be able to develop the country without overburdening our citizens with further taxes that we have all said that is not a good thing to say. Look, I heard you on your take when you spoke about this whole thing of unemployment and the call by the former vice president and the MPP flag bearer for the last election that President Mahama should not be seen as somebody that is making people lose their jobs, because on the back of everything else that the NDC promised that there will be jobs for the teeming youth. But that is more of a political talk than a legal one, because when you look at the appointments and employments that were made by the previous administration, they were all done in bad faith. They were politically motivated.
Should we get to the point where we stop this thing, either from the standpoint of ethically don't do these last-minute appointments,
yes, so
especially when it's quite a number like we saw,
exactly.
Or we should all agree that we get to the point where even if appointments are made, when you come to power, if there's a change, let them be.
Exactly. Yeah. So I love the point where you said that we should look at it when we go to the constitutional review stuff and make sure that those provisions are entrenched in the Transactions Act. I'm sure that when we get all these things done, as a country, we shouldn't be going forth and back about this thing. We are joking with the lives of our people. And I'm sure that if we get this entrenched in our constitution, especially in the Transition Act, the country will not be as a standstill as we are today.
Okay, so interesting initial thoughts, but let's talk money. Yeah. In the end, some will say money makes the world go round.
Yes, you're right.
I think God makes the world go round. But the point is, 721 billion Ghana cedis in debt, also on the back of the exchange rate and all of that, and the different dynamics. You look at, in fact, when you look at projects, if we are to go by what the president said, that leaves us with a very stark reality. Projects initiated, and I've spoken about some of them this morning. Agenda 111, 400 million. What can we show? Though the National Cathedral was not mentioned, that's another $50+ million. What do we have to show? And the various projects dotted across the country. We could even go and look as far back as before 2016 and the NDC's administration.
Absolutely.
We don't have to stick to the last 8 years. We can go back and look at value for money and continuity over time. Then we talk about ESLA. The 45 billion or so that was there, and the 70 billion debt we have. You can look at the energy sector debt, which is tied into that. You can look at the sinking fund, $65,000 or so dollars, plus 134 or 143 million. I mean, if these are our realities, then the task is enormous. How did you find that aspect of the president's delivery in respect of the economy? Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah, I believe his delivery was spot on, because if you speak of the sinking fund, as against the $64,000 that was left, it looks like in 2017, what was left in the sinking fund was $250 million. So, indeed, it is a very serious issue to leave just $64,000. If that is true, if that is true, if that is true, which means that we need to get the data right and find out why this is so. It's possible that there may have been a justifiable reason, because let's not forget, I'm not holding brief for the NPP per se, but let's not forget that the COVID crisis in itself also introduced different dynamics to economies worldwide. We can weigh all these things against the data that we have in order to arrive at why we have this $64,000. The debt is indeed astronomical, 721 billion cedis. But I'm encouraged, I think we'll be able to dig out of it. However, I suppose that the only issue I may have regarding these statistics is the use of the term crime scene. The use of the term crime scene. I think it's a bit too harsh. What has happened will be looked into. But let's not forget that if indeed some of these mismanagement in courts ends up in court, it will be difficult for those who have been accused to say that they will get a fair trial. I believe perfectly in our judiciary. Even in the recent expose, Ghana in the Eyes of God, I was captured on camera saying that I believe in the judiciary. And as a legal practitioner of quite a few years, I do believe in the independence of our judiciary. However, if the first gentleman of the land is already calling what has happened an economic crime scene, it's going to be quite difficult for some aspects of the judiciary, when they have to exercise their discretion, to exercise it in a position that will be fair to both the accused and the state. Because it has already been called a crime scene. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So I think that we should try and avoid, but all in all, it was a State of the Nation address that sought to bring us together. But we should try and reduce use of some of these terms and rather concentrate on how we can even get those on the biggest minority, biggest opposition party, the NPP, to also come together with us to dig us out of this 721 billion cedi hole. Because you cannot say that it is all the NPP officials who mismanage the economy. There may have been some mismanagement here and there. But let's see how we can bring everyone on board in order to dig us out of this hole. And I'm glad you brought up the issue of even going beyond to 2017, 2016 to the NDC time. Indeed, the CPP came out even as far back as when oral was instituted, that oral should go as far back as 1992 and look at everything that has occurred in the Fourth Republic and see how we can retrieve any loot that has been able to evade detection.
Interesting points you make, and that is why I'm saying even in seeking accountability, we should go past the last 8 years.
Exactly.
And maybe even go into other years and also what was left, right?
Yes.
Because you remember when the MPP came into power in 2017, they were also talking about some, the sinkhole they had been left with. But if you do the comparative, this could be dangerous where we find ourselves, even if you look at the figures in the sinking fund. But let me bring in Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He is a senior lecturer at University of Ghana Business School. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. And good morning to all our listeners.
Right. Very quickly, yesterday we were here. We spoke copiously about the economy and your expectations. With what the president delivered, did it meet your expectations? And is the situation dire? Did you see what the president saw?
Well, thank you once again. I think that the president presented the true state of the nation, even as we continue to mention. But, I mean, one of the key things that I see is that I see some sort of comparison analysis between the two political parties. especially looking at it from the point of view of how the nation has been sunk. If you look at what the President Akufo-Addo did in 2017, he painted a gloomy picture of the economy, and he said that the economy was not in a very good shape, even though he took it at a level where GDP was like 3.4%, inflation was like 15%, and the debt level was like 122 billion Ghana cedis. As you currently stand, and yesterday the president said that the debt level is about 721 billion Ghana cedis.
Which means if you look at it, 120 something, we've added basically 600 billion.
Yeah, almost 590 something billion has been added to the debt stock, which to me is alarming, in the sense that, if you want to look at debt, debt is not bad in a sense. True. But what is the marginal efficiency of the debt that you have borrowed? If you borrowed money and you bring the money into an economy, then it means that you should have a productivity that is capable of repaying the debt. Have we invested the money in sectors that is capable of rekindling the economy and ensuring that the economy pays for itself? That is a question that we should be asking ourselves. So for me, I think that these are critical moments of the nation. And the president did not just say that, he says he wants to fix it, and that he has taken an oath, and he has entered into a social contract with the good people of Ghana, and he's of the opinion that he wants to fix it. So if he wants to fix it, then there is no way for him to continue to blame a past government. This is not the only, he enumerated a lot of sectors of the economy within which the debt is bedeviling us, even our state-owned enterprises. If you look at the ECG alone is owing about 68 billion. But for me, what aspect that I see was challenging is that, you see, he mentioned 68 billion, then he came back to mention 70 billion, which means that there is a disparity of 2 billion. So we have to be able to reconcile our figures. And I also heard on news that the opposition was saying that the amount of money they said they left in the sinking fund was not what it is, because they have different sinking fund accounts. But I believe that the president cannot just come out and spew out information like that. I believe that some reconciliation was done in most of the, the accounts all over. So to the extent that you leave a paltry amount of $64,000 dollars in an account and 143 million in another account, the essence of sinking fund in finance is to ensure that we have stability, in a sense that you can do a buyback. If you issue a loan, or if you issue if you issue a bond, and the bond goes to the market, and the rate was like, let's say, 15% or 20%. You remember that in 2015, thereabout, the then government having a sinking fund, leverage on the sinking fund, to be able to issue a buyback. So if the interest rates are high, you can issue a buyback, and you get the buyback back at a lower interest rate and reissue another bond. That is the essence of setting up a sinking fund. So when you set up a sinking fund, you give a booster to your investors or your borrowers, of those who want to lend to you, that we are confident that we can always repay back our loan. We have the buffers in place. So sinking fund is like an asset-backed security, if you look at it into a digital finance. Okay, so the financing vehicle is very important. And another element that I want to speak about is the fact that if you look at the aspect of, the energy sector. The energy sector has a lot of challenges, in which he said that about 70 billion, as I said earlier on. And in addition to that, ESLA was set up in 2015, thereabout, right? And the actual the vehicle was set up in 2017, when the new administration took over. And since 2017, you remember a bond was issued called the bond of templating. You remember that bond? And at a rate of 19.something%, which means that it was issued at extremely higher interest rates. And the ESLA funding was used as ABS, asset-backed security. So they came out with a special purpose vehicle that was used for that. And I heard that about 45 billion has been collected in the ESLA fund, and that up to now, things are not working well. Look at the energy sector. we are painting a very bad picture of the energy sector. And to me, yesterday, I said that the 24-hour economy cannot run if you don't have an efficient energy sector. That is it, because energy sector is going to reduce the cost of production. And that is the ultimate goal of it. You have to be competitive with your neighbors. So if you look at the energy sector, I think that the measures that the president is bringing on board, both in the power sector and the upstream sector, are critical elements. Yeah. We should not be joking with the fact that, I mean, this person has done this, that person has done that. We should be more focused at proactive measures in addressing the challenges that we face. We are coming from a debt-ridden economy. We are coming from an economy where interest rates are extremely very high and making our businesses lag behind in terms of competition. We cannot compete with Ivory Coast. We cannot even compete with Burkina Faso, which are even a war zone. We cannot compete with any of our neighbors. Where are we that? This is a country that we can build. We have all the resources that we can harness and ensure that this country is in the better pedestal. But if you don't put in the mechanisms in place that will allow the country to be in a better position, as a country, we cannot go anywhere. For me, I believe that the president is saying that I'm not going to be talking about, what do you call it, this person has done that, this person has done that. I want to be focused and deliver my mandate. He has only 4 years, and after 4 years, he's gone and gone forever. What legacy are you leaving behind? So he has to stop about the personal rendition, that A, B, C, D. And even those who speak for the government should know that the president has set the tone, that comparative politics is highly essential, but it should be essential in areas where it's going to inure to the benefit of the good people of Ghana. Good people of Ghana has voted for you, so when you come in, stop complaints and deliver your mandate.
Interesting thoughts shared there, the economy and where we find ourselves. You've not had a bite on that, so yes. Quickly on that.
I think that I agree with the assertion that my good brothers have given. Every country runs on the economy. I think that with the picture that we had, I felt that it was too bleak. 721 billion debt when you got it from something more lower.
But like I keep mentioning, if you factor it in, you are looking at the exchange rate. So
yes,
the more your currency is devalued,
of course.
The bigger your debt. Your debt will see.
Take it whatever way you want to take it. Like you said, it's a bleak picture that we shouldn't be there as a people. And I'm happy with Doc saying that we should not play politics when it comes to the economy. I think that as a people, President Mahama has set the tone. And it is good that people who speak for the government should also note that the tone is that, yes, there are challenges. Yes, I inherited A, B, C, D, but it is not time to lament. It is time to look for solutions. It's time to proffer what will give reprieve to the citizenry because they've given you that overwhelming endorsement. And again, I think that some of the figures that we are hearing and some of the expenses that we have done as a country, as a government, we need to relook at our Financial Transactions Act again. Because, for example, if you speak about the Agenda 111 hospital project, where the president indicated that there was 400 million that was disbursed, 400 million US dollar that was disbursed for the Agenda 111 project, and then a rate which is about 18 million per hospital, if you look at that figure that they gave in terms of the whole summary. The president says that we will require almost 22 billion to complete those Agenda 111 programs. Brilliant initiative, great cause for us to invest our money to. If the previous government had invested that 400 million, we would have 22 of the hospitals completed, fully functional. This is money that has gone. Where did the money go to? What happened? And I think that once we start holding our public officers accountable to what they do, because remember, we politicians, we are there at the behest of the people. So not to take the people for granted. I think that these kind of transactions should be a thing of the past where accountability comes before any other thing that we do. Because when you are put in governance, you are put there to work for the people. So if there are things you do that does not adhere to the benefit of the people, then as politicians, I don't think that we need to go that agenda we are going. I'm happy that President Mahama indicated in his State of the Nation address that the Ghanaian people gave him an overwhelming endorsement. And that endorsement is not an endorsement of him coming to complain, it's for him coming to lament. That endorsement is because they believed in his policies that he presented to the people.
Right.
Those policies should propel us in ensuring that we work for the collective good of all of us, not for a select few.
Let's focus. You cannot have an economy without energy. The president spoke about the fact that he promised back then to end doomsday, fix it, and that he did. And that in the same vein, he will fix our economy. But fixing the economy will also involve fixing our energy situation. There's the ESLA situation, there's the ECG's debt, and everything in there. Dr. Jabir, when you look at the numbers, where we are and where we hope to be, what is fiction, what is fact, and maybe what is faction in between the two?
Well, looking at it clearly, as I said earlier on, the numbers, this is not something that we cannot overcome. 70 billion Ghana cedis. Just look at the amount of money wasted on the national service scandal. Approximately about 600 million Ghana cedis.
And ECG's debt itself is around 60 billion.
68 billion. 68 billion.
Ghana.
So you see, for me, coming from the aspect of energy, most of my work is in energy. What I see now is that, one, for instance, there is something called there is enclave power, right? And the enclave power is taking over the free zone areas. All right, so it's about financing. The whole picture of the energy problem that we have in the country is about financing. So how do we ensure that we resolve the financing issue? One of it is that we need to be able to reduce the technical losses. And the technical losses are not just only technical, but sometimes it's managerial inefficiencies that the managers of that sector has not been able to put in place. Yesterday, I mentioned that in one of my research, in one of the communities in Western North, the whole community didn't have no meters, no nothing. And they had been in the national grid for more than 5 years. So if you have such places across the country, can you imagine how much losses that we are making? Secondly, you see, if you look at the enclave one, the argument is that about 99% of the revenue is collected. So if you're able to reduce the inefficiencies in terms of the distribution channel, so let's say that we have people like enclave, we have another subset distributors. ECG supply the power to them and say that, okay, I'm a major distributor, I'm having sub-distributors. I'm giving you, let's say, 100 kilowatts of energy power. If plus or minus, you should be able to lose, let's say, 2% or 3%. So which means that we are losing energy of 2%, right? So if you're able to do that, we will be in a better position to collect the revenue appropriately and distribute the power and more accountable. So we have that there is something called the special tariff zones. Some of the companies are within the special tariff zones. So you allow them to go to the special tariff zones and also deal with that. We have the enclave zones, which is what do you call it, the free zone areas. So deal with it with the enclave power. Get about 2 power sectors or 3. Let another one deal with the special tariff zone. Then the other 2 deal with the what do you call it, the residential. Okay, so if you pick that, so if you pick the businesses, you have the special tariff zone, then you have non-residential, which is businesses like yours, right? And in 2022, the government came out with what we call a reversal of tariffs. The PURC did that. They reversed about 36% of the tariffs. Now, this is what happens. The picture is that the businesses were subsidizing, cross-subsidizing for the household about almost some tariffs. So if you are supposed to pay X, Y, Z tariffs, then the businesses will cross-subsidize component of it for the residential. Now, they reversed about 36% of it in 2022. We did a policy paper on that, and the result shows that if you reverse up to 100%, we are going to eliminate a lot of inefficiencies in the power sector, especially the household level. Because the household levels are those who sometimes waste the power because you are buying at a lower tariff. So once the one that the businesses are subsidizing for you is completely reversed to you, then it means that we are having some cost savings there. and that cost savings can come in to augment what is already existing. That position paper is there, and I don't know whether they have actually looked at it critically or not. We did it with the PURC. Report was presented, and next month I'll be presenting it at a conference in the UK, at Oxford. So some of these things are the things that we need to do so that we can eliminate the inefficiencies. We shift I'm particularly happy about the president saying that the metering system and what do you call it, and the revenue collection is going to fall on the cash waterfall mechanism, which means that when the revenue are collected, it is going to be distributed to the appropriate quarters. And once the distribution is done and done very well...
They have some of the problems we've had in the past.
Yes, we are not going to have the problem we have had in the past. So we can holistically address the energy crisis if we are committed to it. And by what he's saying, it should not just be by words. It should be actionable policies in place to ensure that some of these things are properly addressed. Otherwise, we will talk and talk and talk and go back. The problem about this country has been about talking. After the English, we rattle the English all over the place. But when it comes to policy implementation, there are a lot of slippages in the way and manner in which we implement our policies.
Okay.
And that is what we should be targeting and ensuring that we harness all the resources that we have to ensure that we build a nation that we all of us want to do. He says that, remember he says that, I want to build the Ghana you want, right? And the Ghana you want is that our pockets should be what? Should be okay. If I want to buy food or anything, I shouldn't feel what?
The pockets, right.
I shouldn't feel from my pocket. So let's fix all of these power crises, and our problems will be resolved.
He talks about the road sector as well, saying that some of the claims that were made about road construction were untrue, that resurfaced and other roads were claimed to be, new roads or constructed roads among everything. And then he also delves into the issue of education. He says he makes it a point of reiterating that he will not cancel free SHS. But then he also says, I'm committed to ensuring that quality education remains a top priority. And then he talks about some of the tweakings that will be done when it comes to the education sector. How did you find those?
Well, I was quite impressed with that because he was being very honest about it. You have to present the true picture to Ghanaians, not sugarcoat it. And I realized he was looking at letting parents cover some aspects of the free education, but however, maintaining free education as it is. And some of these aspects are the boarding and the feeding. The whole idea behind free education, and which I believe that in spite of all that has been said against His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the whole idea of free education was to make senior secondary school education accessible for all. And that was, he was able to achieve that. We should give that to him. We shouldn't take that away. He was able to achieve that. However, there were a lot of difficulties. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's policy, or his idea of having parents pay for the boarding and feeding, is also a step in the right direction. Because with that, you don't limit the universal access to the secondary education, so that those who may not be able to afford the boarding and the feeding then can be day students in their areas, so that there will still be access to education, and the schools too can also concentrate on the quality of education, because a lot goes into the feeding, a lot goes into the boarding. These amounts can then be diverted to shoring up the quality of education, better facilities, training the teachers, and all that. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It reminds me of, I think there was a slightly similar policy in the CPP area. I think it was a accelerated development plan in education. Yes, accelerated development plan in education, and this has undertones of that, where during that era, the free education was more or less targeted. It was started in the northern sector, and then it seems there was an attempt to make it gradual. The universal approach by the NPP was not sustainable, but at least they did start something. And with the tweaking that His Excellency wants to do, and I know that things will work out in the education sector.
You're optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. Also, I believe, when His Excellency makes certain promises, he's able to deliver. And in 2015, during the SONA, when he promised to solve the energy crisis, he did indeed solve the energy crisis. So I think that he'll be able to deliver as long as we, the Ghanaian citizenry, we also avail ourselves to do our bit 100% to move everything forward, including holding them accountable on a daily basis and holding ourselves accountable on a daily basis and not waiting till the frog is dead and is stretched out before you see.
Quoting the president.
You don't wait for the frog to, once the frog is alive, be pulling the frogs. You can still stretch out the frog who is alive. Don't wait till the frog
you see your true size.
Exactly.
But there are a number of matters on which have economic dimensions. He says they will pay bondholders to the last peswa. But don't forget that there's been talk about certain taxes being scrapped, COVID-19 levy, betting tax, e-levy, and all of that. And then tied to that, there's the manhunt for fugitives, so to speak, the National Service Authority, among others. How do you fuse these? I know people will say oral and all of that, but how do we actualize these? Because if you're going to be paying the bondholders, for example, and you're going to be hemorrhaging taxes, how are we going to do it? What's your take?
I have stated that the work of the current finance minister is not one that anybody should envy. It's a very difficult one. The finance minister will have to help the president in ensuring that we find a solution to these gaps. The truth of the matter is that the country cannot any further accept that we tax our people more than we can do. Taxes, like we've indicated, have helped develop the country. Some of them are nuisance taxes that the president and the NDC promised that they were not going to continue with.
Indeed, going past the rhetoric, how do we move forward? That's the question.
Well,
as for describing something as a nuisance or something, that one is the easy part.
I think that you've indicated one aspect of it, where you say that people have looted resources from the country, plunging those resources back and ensuring that they go into the development of the country. For example, what has happened at the National Service Secretariat is something that there shouldn't be anybody being a fugitive and running away from accountability, because for me, that is robbing the state. So if we are able to get whatever has been taken away by such acts, then I'm sure that we'll be able to fix certain things that the president has said that he's going to fix. And again, also, there are other things that Doc spoke about ensuring that everybody pays taxes, everybody ensures that whatever the state is providing, that is services that needs to be paid for, we pay for it. These are areas that I believe that the president believes that he can be able to plug the loopholes and ensure that we don't overburden our citizenry with taxes anymore.
And just on a quick point, some reactions from, of course, Mahama Ayariga, the majority leader, said the president had brought hope. But if you listen to the minority leader, he had a very different perception. He said if the president had any concerns, his duty was to fix it. If you are quoting him, if the president has any concerns, his duty is to fix it, fair or foul. And then he also says, in respect of the mass dismissals, he says, on the streets of Accra today, the youth of the country are saying that Mahama Bako, termination baby. What are your reactions?
I think that you stated this thing about the employment. I think it's too much of politics that we are doing with this last-minute employments that are supposed to hang on the necks of the next person coming into power. We need to work on that. I think that the minority leaders' assertion reflects what the LPP believes in. We have a country to build. I think that it's early days yet for them to be even saying that there's doomsaw, President Mahama to fix the doomsaw. This is what he was elected to. Yes, the man says that, yes, I was elected to fix the problems, but I've come here to deliver the true state of the nation to everybody so that everybody knows what he has inherited. But quick to add, he indicated that he was not there to lament. He was there to tell them what the problem was and to proffer solutions. In the budget, we are in the budget that is going to be presented. That is where we'll see how he wants to do this to regulate fiscal discipline and ensure that the Ghanaian people benefit from what they voted for in him, ensuring that he restores hope and confidence to the Ghanaian people.
I'll come to you, Kwame Nkrumah, but permit me to go to Dr. Mohammed. The very next stop, and you've taken the wind out of my sail, was then the budget, because he mentions certain things and he talks about in the budget that will be presented, in the budget, because that is where, like some economists have already said, you will get to see whether government is cutting expenditure, where they are cutting it, whether they are trying to be more efficient, effective. That is where it will be exposed.
Yeah.
What then would be your reading or your expectations of what likely could be in the budget by way of education, by way of the economy, among others?
Well, I think that, as Nkrumah said earlier on, the president is looking at a different picture of the educational sector. If I recall, from 2017 to 2024, the free senior high school has cost the state 18.6 billion Ghana cedis. And last year, it was 2.7 billion that we spent on free senior high school. So if you want to do cost-cutting mechanism by reducing the element of the boarding fees, it means that the cost implication might come a bit down. That is a savings that you are going to make. But I have always maintained that, well, if you want to remove that boarding fee, well, that is fine. But I still believe that we should maintain it as it is. Because I think 2.7 billion is just a microcosm of the entire budget that we are going to present. Sometimes we present a budget of, let's say, last year it was about 200 and something billion expenditure. And next year, this year, I'm sure it's going to be similar thing. So what is the efficiency of the revenue generation? And what is the efficiency of injecting the money into sectors of the economy that is capable of translating into a real growth? Because it is only through the real growth that you can create jobs. And yesterday, I mentioned that a 5% increase in output leads to 1% increase in employment. It's a basic macroeconomic principle. So once we are able to put the money into good sectors of the economy, they will yield the result that we are trying to desire. Now, the president has also reduced the ministers and says that he's keeping it not more than 60 ministers. And our analysis showed that about 40 million Ghana cedis is going to be saved. I don't know whether it is monthly or it's annual.
So if you
granting
that is actually over the 4 years.
Yes.
A year you're saving about 9 point something, close to 10 million.
Okay, close to 10 million Ghana cedis.
But that is just on emoluments, basically salaries.
Salaries,
purely
yes.
salaries.
Salaries. So
other benefits, surrounding benefits, perks are not included.
Exactly. So we have backward and forward leakages in economics. And if you look at it from that perspective, you realize that the backward and forward leakages are going to be roping in additional money. Just look at the amount of money that's going to be saved through procurement issues and all of that, goods and services. Because if you pick the budget has certain components: compensation to employees, goods and services, transfer to statutory authorities, etc. All of these elements, interest payment. And the president mentioned that amortization and interest payment alone in the next 4 years is going to be 280 billion Ghana cedis, right? About 150 billion is for domestic debt servicing, and 130 is for what? It's for foreign debt servicing. So we have a Herculean task to cooperate with. But then, what measures are we putting in place to ensure that we have that efficiency? Right. So I am more interested in the efficiency of spending, so that when you spend on this sector, let's say if you put 2% in agriculture, what is the resultant impact is going to have on job creation? Because that's the ultimate goal of everything. Right. If you put 2% into the 24-hour economy, what is going to be the ultimate goal in
the output?
How
does it impact the economy?
How does it impact the economy? So that is what I'm more interested in. So I expect the finance minister to look at it holistically and ensure that we connect to sectors of the economy. let's not just do activity-based budgeting, but let's do efficient-based budgeting so that when we put money here, it gives you an output at this element. So for instance, Free Senior High School, you should be able to connect to industry, you should be able to connect to agricultural sector, you should be able to connect to the health. So let's connect our spending that way so that we spend within, then the economy grow within.
All right. Gentlemen, for the sake of time, I'll have to take your final comments. We have a limited conversation. I'll start with you, Kwame Nkrumah.
Well, my final comments are that things look very positive. So we should all be focused on what will be efficient. And as I said earlier, let's even look at one of the richest, if not the richest country in the world, and the richest man, Elon Musk, with the Doge department in the US, where they are looking for ways
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yes, to make things efficient. All of us as Ghanaians, we should try and be as efficient as possible. Where we can save costs, let's save costs. And let's target where we can also get revenue, especially with export. If we look at this morning on air, the 5 countries that Ghana imports most from, we have China, number 1, UAE, UK, US, I forget the 5th one. But you can see that the countries that are making it, they export a lot. Our population is not such, it's small. We cannot get to that level that we want to. So let's concentrate on the areas that will bring in revenue.
Benjamin?
I think that, like Nkrumah said, this state of the nation has reinvigorated the spirit of hope into the Ghanaian people. I think that much work also needs to be done. We don't need to lazy around. The president has appointed people to serve in various capacities to help him in this Better Ghana agenda. I think that this is a call to service, this is a call to duty. Anybody that the president has appointed should know that in our collective efforts, individually so, we are able to achieve what we wanted to achieve. We should remember that it can look more bleaker if we don't do things right as a party, as a government. The people have given us that overwhelming endorsement. We shouldn't take it for granted. We should ensure that as a party, we work towards the betterment of all, not a select few of our population, not NDC people alone, but the whole country. And I'm sure that the president has set the tone for it, and at the end of the day, he would ensure that we achieve that.
All right. I would have ended the conversation, but I see Doc has a final point he wants to make, so I'll give you.
Well, I think that the president is in the good cause, and let's help him as a country or as a nation. Both NDC and MPP and all political parties should join hands so that we can build the Ghana we all want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining the conversation. Benjamin Kwashi is Council of Elders Chair of NDC South Africa. We also have joining the conversation Kwame Nkrumah, General Secretary of the CPP, and Dr. Jabir Mohammed, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. This has been our post-SONA analysis right here on the AM show. Do stick and stay. We have a lot more action coming your way, including, well, our own e-corner with Noella. You want to stick and stay? We'll be right back.
You're welcome back. This is the AM show right here on Joy News Television. Of course, I know you are used to seeing this face when it's time for E-Corner. That's coming up pretty shortly. But I've got a special interview for you, and we're going to bring that to you right now. And of course, following up would be E-Corner. And so I've got, some special guests from the British Council, the Steady UK Alumni Awards organizers and winners have joined us this morning right here on the show. I understand it happened last Friday. It was an excellent event, and so they're here to tell us all about the event and more. And so this morning I've been joined by Richard Kwesi Shiangbo, or Shiangbo. Shiangbo. Okay, love it. Well, he is the Director of Programs and Partnerships at the British Council. And he's not here alone. He's here with Miracle Daniel Gavo, who is the Social Action Award recipient.
And of course, King Adawu Wellington is the founder of Done By Us, management consultant firm, and project lead of Africa Street MBA. And of course, we will be having a beautiful conversation this morning. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I feel very special to be, you know, amongst you guys, the only girl amongst 3 solid looking guys. So you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
Richard, tell us about, you know, this initiative by the British Council, you know, the Alumni Awards. What's that about?
All right. So the British Council, as you all know, people really think that we always, like, let's say, only do what exams.
Okay.
But it's not only exams that what we run. So people tag the British Council with what IELTS.
Right.
But we do a lot of things in, let's say, programs, TVET, schools, art and culture. So the exam is just what one part of it.
Right.
And we also have a strand called the UK what alumni. So in Ghana, we try to celebrate our, let's say, graduates who school from the UK that are in the country now. Yeah, so we started in 2014. So we did the first pilot in India and China. Then Ghana, this is the 5th one. We had our first edition on, that was 2017, where we celebrate people that are doing something great in the country that we don't even know them. So it's a platform to unlock this talent. So we had a category of, let's say, 4, science and sustainability category. We have the business and innovation, who is here. Right. Then the social action. Then we have the culture and creativity. So we do this every year to inspire them and to also create platforms for them, to connect them. So when it comes to the British Council, we have the UK alumni platform. Currently, we have over 1,005 on that platform. We urge everyone that are schooled in the UK that are back in country to join that platform, because when you join that platform, you have the opportunity to engage your peers, a platform that you can learn, you can network. So the award is not the only thing that we do, but every year too, we do what we call reception network. We just meet them at the at the British Council, or sometimes at the residence of the High Commissioner, to just showcase, because they are doing great things that we don't know. We have to make sure that we unearth all the great things that they are doing, because schooling in UK is a different experience. We don't want them to school and come back to their country. We have to trace them. We have to know what actually they are doing to help their community. And I can tell you that they are they are doing great things that, if not because of these awards, we might not even know what they are doing. So we had 12 finalists. And out of the 12 finalists, we have 4 that emerge as winners under the 4 categories that I just mentioned. Yes, thank you.
I wanted to ask, you know, because I'm intrigued, I wanted to ask why it's so important to touch base or engage with the UK alumni, because you kept, you know, hammering on that. If you can briefly touch on that for us.
Yes, you know, it is believed that UK education is one of the best in the world. Not to say that what we are having in Ghana is not the best.
Right.
We are also learning best practices. So what we do is that we connect UK universities and that of the Ghanaian universities through partnership.
Right.
So we bring them together in terms of course content, curriculum development, how they can churn out graduates. Okay, that will not be part of the pool of unemployed a graduate that we have, but people that can, push, inspire let's say people try to do greater things. Okay, so UK education is something that is very great. We are supported by almost the 160 registered UK universities and over 650 listed universities in UK. So there's a difference between registered universities and listed universities. You can be a listed university in the UK teaching degree programs, but you cannot award. Okay, so the award must come from a registered institution.
Okay.
So whether you schooled in the UK physically, whether you attended face-to-face bricks and mortar, or you do online, because we have open learning. Now we have what we call the virtual classrooms,
right,
which is something that is gaining what grounds for what in the UK.
Nice.
Also transnational what education, where UK qualifications given outside the jurisdiction of what UK. So it is very important for them to showcase what they've learned back what in UK. And this one, the criteria is that you must be in Ghana, because you cannot be in the UK and apply for this. So the eligibility criteria was very clear that you must be in Ghana, must complete.
We'll talk more about the
right.
eligibility, but let me come to you, Miracle. You are a social impact champion, I understand, and you achieve these through technology. I want you to tell me about your experience, you know, educating yourself in the UK, and of course, obviously, you might have gotten some education here in Ghana as well. What is that distinctive difference you can talk about?
Absolutely. It was very hands-on focus to the point that when I was doing my master's, I took only 6 courses for my master's. But those 6 courses, aside the dissertation that I have to write, the 6 main courses I took were mainly hands-on. I didn't have to take any exams. All I have to be very practical questions. I have to get a project and then work on and submit for my scores and stuff like that. Whereas in Ghana, I mean, I trained as a teacher here in Ghana before then going to the UK. Whereas here in Ghana, we don't do a lot of that kind of practical orientation and then education. So people have the theoretical knowledge, but then when it comes to application, then we are limited. The difference I saw was this hands-on approach in the UK, where the things I was learning was directly applicable. So I was asked questions that will help me bring the theory into practice. Then I could produce something and then said, as a result of the classroom learning, this is the result of the action that took place in the classroom. Yeah.
So it wasn't really tedious like, you know, we're used to here in Ghana, huh?
It is tedious because you can't just produce anything. Yeah, in the name that, oh, we've been taught how to put something together and that is the result of the production. No, it requires a lot of proactiveness. It requires a lot of deep thinking. You're asking yourself the question, is this worth the time you're investing into the project you are working on?
Right.
How would your supervisors, they have what they call the rubrics. So it says that if you're able to say, produce a 10,000 word, you score this much. And then that 10,000 word, it says the grammar must be on points, dot all your I's and then cross all your T's and stuff like that. Then it goes down, okay, if you don't dot all your I's, maybe you come to like a 9 out of 10. If you don't cross all your T's, you are 8 out of 10.
Right.
Now, so I know the rubrics, and then it inspires me to, if I want to get the maximum
So it aided you to be more, pay attention to details, right?
Exactly. So that attention to detail was obviously there. Whereas in Ghana, I don't even know what I'm being scored against. So whether what I'm doing is actually measuring what is expected, it's only my faculty that determines that, okay, yeah, you good, you can pass on.
Right.
Yeah, I know what the score is, and I know what I have to do to meet that requirement.
Excellent. Let me come to you, Mr. Wellington.
Right.
Your work, I understand, focuses on empowering young entrepreneurs.
Right.
You aim at bridging the gap between opportunity and ambition. That's very admirable. But how then would you say your study in the UK has helped you to be more, proactive in that area?
So first off, good morning once again, and to your viewers as well. Let me, ride on what Miracle said. Studying the UK, the practicality of it, I had the opportunity to do my MBA International Business at the University of Birmingham. And the University of Birmingham MBA, it has 2 strands, global finance and then international business, which fits into consulting. So the practicality of it is that, throughout the study, we were engaging with, the 3 large consulting firms, particularly Deloitte, right? Meeting their top bosses, their top managers, and undertaking practical, real-world, real-life consulting projects, solving problems of companies, among other stuff. So that practicality bit of it is very good, hands-on. Apart from that, studying the UK, and particularly University of Birmingham, gives you that wide pool of network. Now, today, I can sit in Ghana if there's a project in, say, Japan. I have a past colleague, I schooled with who is in Japan, Korea, Istanbul, you just name it, Europe, everywhere. So it gives you that
wide pool of contacts network to tap into. Then also it gives you, that ability to be able to be independent, right? And for you to be able to think on your feet, for you to be able to do stuff. And that is similar thing that, I tried to do when I came back. And we do it through the Africa Street MBA, empowering the youth, among other stuff. So studying the UK really helped me pushing my career forward, pushing business forward as well, mindset, having a high sense of urgency because of time management. You have to really manage your time well, among other stuff. So it's been good so far.
My last question to you, and I'm going to ask both of you. Now, the trend and I'm sure you can attest to what I'm about to say, the trend I am used to is mostly when individuals travel outside the country and the study, they tend to be more focused on the outside network. It's like they become a bit westernized and they want to, move more towards that area. You have gone outside, you have attained education and knowledge. How are you imbibing it into our culture here in Ghana? Who wants to go first?
Okay, so, of course, you're right. And when you look at the fact that unemployment is high, when you look at the standard of living, among others, people want to travel out. In fact, migration, even across the Sahara Desert, is on a high. So it's understandable people want to travel out. But it's important that, when you go out there, you gain knowledge, you gain skills, you gain some experience, you come back to help Mother Ghana, because it is one Ghana that we have.
Right.
And we are the ones that are going to build the country, and we have to come back to do that. Now, it is important that, the world doesn't work in a silo, right? It is made up of different people, different cultures. So learning something from another culture, bringing it back and seeing how you would improve yourself and how you do things, is good. And I think with that mindset, that motivation, you're able to, merge it, imbibe it, and make sure that you do something great.
Briefly, miracle.
Sure, thank you. No, I actually went to Maoli school.
Oh, okay.
Not that wrong. For a very long time, people used to call me Maoli. I don't know how they got the name Maoli too. Well, yes, for me, my motivation to study outside was drawn from my encounter with Professor Alote, the late Professor Alote. This is what he told me. He said, look, today technology has given us the opportunity to see what is happening in the Western world, and then as such, bring that same knowledge and expertise back home. So when I was going for my further studies in the UK, it was with that ambition that, look, there's something good happening in the West. How can we tap into that using technology as we have it now, and then come back home and then leverage and leapfrog our situation?
Right.
So for me, it was go out there, see what is happening there, come back home, and then leapfrog our development. That was my motivation. The aspect of maybe, yes, I have that feeling that the moment you go out there and you school there, you sort of acclimatize.
Right.
You really want to have that shift towards the people there, which is a good thing. But what the need is most is here in Ghana, or is it my home country, my community. So I just feel, well, you can be out there doing all the good things that you want to do there, but then you came out of a situation. Do you want to go back to that same situation? Do you want to see your family? Do you want to see your colleagues in that same situation that you have been able to come out of? So coming back home helps, like, broaden their horizon, give exposure, create awareness that, yes, there's something happening out in the West there. Some of us have had opportunity to be there. We are back home to also give you that same experience, that same exposure, so that we can all catch up and be on the same page.
Awesome. Mr. Miracle, you've been excellent this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Richard, are there any parting words? You have 10 seconds.
All right. So I will urge all the alumni in the country to join the platform. You should go to the British Council website, www.britishcouncil.org, and register to be part of the global alumni network. Because from here, we are trying to plan some kind of training for all of them on that platform, also connect them with different stakeholders. So that platform, I'll urge everybody to join that platform and also be part of the next year's award. So we urge everybody to join that platform because we really want to know what they are doing in country.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Thank you so much, gentlemen. You've been
Thank you.
phenomenal this morning. And you heard from Miracle Daniel Gavo, who is one of the winners of the Alumni UK Award Social Action recipient. Richard Kwesi Shaimbo is the Director of Programs and Partnership at the British Council. And King Adau Wellington is the founder of Done By Us, a management consultant firm and project lead of Africa Street MBA. You're still watching the AM show. Up next is E-Corner with yours truly. Don't go nowhere. You're welcome back. You're still watching the AM show on Joy News with me, Noella Kariniali, and we have a blood donation awareness walk happening tomorrow. I've got the team right here in studio with me to have a brilliant conversation with. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome. You want to introduce yourself to us?
Sure. So, Mame Kwaba Stevens. I'm the director for the Casons Group, also the former brand ambassador, National Blood Service Ghana, and the founder for Kwaba Foundation.
So tomorrow, something huge is happening, which is a blood donation awareness walk.
Yes.
What has necessitated, this walk?
Yes, so this was it was a milestone birthday, and I was the brand ambassador then. So I was trying to find exciting and engaging ways to educate people and create awareness about donating blood. Because every day is somebody's birthday. So if we have birthday celebrants donating blood, it would ensure that the blood banks nationwide were fully stocked. So this is how it started. We started from Ayemensa to Pediase from 2018. This year is actually the 8th year. And we've been doing this, and usually it's have people from all walks of life joining us, from skaters, bikers, horse riders, young babies, old people, everybody coming just because the blood is a national issue, it's a universal issue, international issue, and it's something that connects us all. So we found engaging ways to do that. And start March for the month of March, and March like we are walking. And it's also a very good way to start Ghana Month, a way to show your Ghanaian pride. I mean, giving back to society, giving back to your nation, and making sure that, your brother or sister is alive to see the next day.
So if I understand you've been doing this from 2018.
2018, yes.
2018 till now, what are some of the success stories that, the group can boast about?
Oh, well, the event has been growing. I mean, the numbers have been growing, the donors have been growing. There's been more awareness, there's been more visibility. There have been people who weren't donors before but are now donors. People who were donors but now repeat donors, because that's also very important. You also have people who have actually organized blood sessions, blood donation sessions as a result of this, because the whole idea is supposed to be kind of the ripple effect, not just what happens on that day, but what happens afterwards. So even if you take the T-shirts that we use as like moving billboards, we have messages at the back. And sometimes you see somebody wearing a 2019 March shirt, which means that this person has been wearing it the past years and still generating awareness or creating awareness about giving blood. So there's been a lot of it. There's been a lot of collaboration, a lot of other companies coming together. The last 2 years, we've also moved a bit into the sustainability space, where we are also encouraging people to be mindful of the environment. So we are walking in a very responsible way, where we're cleaning the beach. We are also giving seedlings to donors for them to double their impact. So basically, you give life, you're planting hope, and you're joining the giving cycle. And encouraging those who had been there, had their March T-shirts from 2018, to wear it again. I mean, just to show the loyalty, just to show how long you've been with us. And also, it's also reuse. Reusing wearing your shirt again is a way to also protect, help the environment. So this helps and touches on some of the sustainable goals.
Right.
Good health, well-being, climate action, partnerships.
Let's now focus on the individuals that we're looking forward to coming to donate.
Yeah.
For individuals who have been deferred.
Yeah.
Does it mean they're still ineligible to donate?
No, that's a neat thing about being deferred, because when you're deferred, you could be deferred for so many reasons. You could even be deferred just because that time you are taking medication, which maybe in the next 2 weeks you're not going to take it. You could be deferred because maybe you're a breastfeeding mother, you're pregnant, whatever. So it really depends on what the reason is for you to be deferred. And that reason could change in a day, a week, a year, whatever it is. But the good thing is that when you go back, and then the blood service will let you know if you're now eligible to donate. So the fact that you're deferred doesn't mean you cannot donate at all. But once the circumstance changes, you can come back and donate.
So there are two notions people share that I want to discuss with you. One of them is the fact that they believe every now and then, you know, we're advocating for people to donate blood. People are donating blood, giving it to the blood banks. But we're always being asked to donate.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
It's just because the demand is more than the supply. You have a lot more people needing blood than what you're getting. Sometimes they also depend on the circumstance. You may need 1 unit of blood, half a unit of blood, or two units of blood. And so because we're not getting enough, but the ask is always constant, that's why we are asking people to keep donating blood. I mean, blood has some kind of expiration date, but usually we don't have enough for it to even get to that point. The other thing is that there's so many different blood groups. So there could be blood, but your blood group may not be available, and that's why you have to keep donating. But when you go to a mobile session, sometimes you see a lot of people, but it doesn't mean they're all donating. So you'd be amazed about how many units of blood they get, although you see so many people. Some are just observe it, some are just, having fun. But that's why we're just conscientizing people and asking them to donate. So if you haven't donated before, we encourage you to donate. And if you have, we're encouraging you to donate again. Because even if you donate twice a year, you're already doubling the number of units just by the same people donating again versus having new donors come on board. So it's a constant ask. Because, the other thing is that there's so many needs for blood. I mean, cancer patients, leukemia, accident victims, pregnant women. So because there's so many needs for blood, I mean, people are asking for blood all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right. And what would you also say to individuals who share or who believe that, donating blood often would sort of deplete their own blood supply?
Well, givers never lack. That's the truth of the matter. And, the good thing about giving blood is that the health professionals, that they are very, very professional about it. So that it's not because they need blood, they will just go and, take your blood without testing you. You are very important, and you're just as important as a patient. And so they'll test you, you go through some screening just to make sure that you're eligible, just to make sure that you are fit, just to make sure you have excess blood. It's the excess blood they take, not what you need to sustain yourself. And the excess blood does no good for you anyway. And so if you can give that blood to someone to keep the person alive, and within 24 to 48 hours, just by drinking some beverage, you replenish and your blood, the volume comes back, then why don't you do that? And so there's nothing like giving blood and you lacking, because we need you alive to keep giving.
All right. Briefly, tell us what's happening tomorrow, and then we can...
Oh, so tomorrow is going to be a fun day and exciting day. So please, please, please come. It's a walk like no other. 1st March, that's Saturday, that's tomorrow. 6 a.m., we're going to start from Laboma Beach. They're going to walk from Laboma Beach, walk through the La Township, and the second half of the walk is on the beach and back to Laboma. There's going to be aerobics, there's going to be, jama, there's going to be music, fun, games, and a lot of activities just to keep us engaged. So, like I mentioned, people from all walks of life are going to be there. So it's going to be a day of just, obviously there's going to be a blood donation exercise also happening alongside. So please come, even if you have a funeral to go, just come donate blood, then leave. And like I said, it's an exciting day. And most people, if people have been coming year after year, so obviously we must be doing something right for them to come. Our sponsors have been with us. Most of them have been with us all 8 years. And I'm sure, there are people knocking their doors all the time. So for them to keep sponsoring us, it means that they also find some benefit and realize that we're doing, and it's growing every year. And every year we're doing something different, something innovative. So just come and see what's exciting this year.
Thank you so much, Mame Kwaba Stevens. Yeah. She's the director of Kason's Group and former brand ambassador for the National Blood Service.
Ghana, yeah.
Okay, Ghana.
Yeah, founder for Kwaba Foundation. And just wear any red or white T-shirts. Right. Yes. Right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Right, this is the AM show on Joy News. Up next, this time I mean it, E-Corner. See, I told you I was coming back with E-Corner, and of course I stay true to my word. It's another week, another round of hot stories shaking things up. you know, on the internet, in the world, in Ghana. But that's why you're here, right? Because when it comes to breaking it all down, the drama, the wins, the debate, and the headlines that's got everybody talking, you know, E-Corner has got you covered. It's a fantastic Friday. I'm always happy when it's a Friday. It's actually very sad that I would have to truncate the show sooner than I thought because we're almost, you know, out of time, but it's fine. We'll do something. We'll do something really, really nice right now. So let's begin with a story that I personally promised you an update. So I remember 3 weeks ago, I brought you a story about the appointment of the new Ghana Tourism Authority's CEO, Madame Efua Huajeto. And I told you that I was going to keep my tabs on her and ensure that should any, you know, update pop up, definitely I will sneak it into the show. Well, I'm staying true to that word because last Saturday, for her first official interview, she did it with the brand that does it better. I mean, which other brand does it better than the Joy Cluster brands? I mean, I don't know what you're watching or listening to, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, she was on Showbiz A to Z on Joy FM, had a fantastic interview with a panel and host. And, you know, during that interview, she was asked an intriguing question, whether or not she feels, you know, pressured or she feels she's under pressure to perform or outperform her predecessor, Akwesi Agyeman, who a lot of people believe did brilliant at the authority. And she had this to say.
Akwesi Agyeman performance and the plaudits he's received, do all these things put some pressure on you?
It certainly does. It certainly does. But the truth is that before Akwesi Agyeman came to GTA, nobody knew him.
Yeah.
He was a low-key person at Happy FM.
Right.
He had an affiliation with Global Alliance.
Media Alliance.
Yeah.
And I knew him at the time.
Okay.
Because I'd done a job with him at Ghana at 50, you know. So, yeah, I knew he was a quite unassuming man, you know, until he came onto the seat. It also took a while to settle in. And he did the magic. And I think that his background in marketing yeah. and events really helped.
Right.
And I believe that I pray to God that I'm able to do same and even more because we have similar backgrounds.
So that was Madame Efua Huajeto, who's the CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority. She was also asked about her first day in office. You know, she talked about it, how she had fun, had some meetings, blah, blah. I would have brought you that video, but you know what? Time is really a hater right now. So let's move on to some other really exciting stories that happened this week. And it has to do with appointments. Somebody say appointments. Can I mean appointments. That's right. Appointments was flying all over this week. I mean, the president of the Republic of Ghana has appointed a number of individuals. And the kicker here, which I am so excited about, is the fact that majority of the people he has appointed are from the creative industry. And I am really, really excited about that. First on my list is KOD. If you don't know KOD, let's take a look at who KOD is right now. Yeah, that's him on your screens, okay? He is an entrepreneur. He is, you know, an MC. He is a globetrotter. He is a Pan-African. And he's a lot of things. Now, he has been appointed the presidential advisor of diaspora affairs at the office of the president. And listen, a lot of people would be asking, really, what has warranted this appointment? Well, he has experience which includes holding positions at fashion designers such as Ted Baker and Paul Smith. He is the CEO of a fashion brand called 1957. He hosts annually a show that promotes fashion music. It's called Rhythms on the Runway. I have been a host of the Blue Carpet one time. So yeah, he really deserves this appointment. We hope that he does exploits on epic stuff at the presidency. Let's move away from that and also bring you another appointment that has to do with Abeku Santana. He's also a broadcaster. Listen, I am also very much excited about his appointment. A lot of people thought that he should have been the main, you know, GTA CEO, but it's fine. He's going to deputize, you know, Madame F4 Hajato. So that is Abeku Santana. We call him Capo. If you know him, you know this appointment is very deserved. He breathes, sleeps, eats, does everything tourism. And so congratulations to you, Abeku Santana. Also, we have James Gardner. Now, his appointment came in yesterday. Like, you know, just, you know, like, surprise, I'm here. I just got my appointment. Oh, my God. So, yeah, James Gardner has also been appointed the Deputy Secretary General at the National Film Authority. I don't know whether there's a general attached. You have to pardon me. I'm rushing against time to bring you a lot of stories, okay? So, yeah, congratulations to James Gardner as well. And last but certainly not least, is Rex Omar, okay? We are all excited about that appointment as well. He has been appointed the presidential staffer for the Black Star Experience. And if you don't know what the Black Star Experience is, it is the NDC's flagship culture, you know, arts and tourism brand to redefine and affirm our Ghanaian identity, attract investment, create new jobs and increase tourism. And it will undertake a year-round celebration in all the major entertainment, artistic and educational disciplines. A lot of people think it's like the Year of Return or Beyond the Return that has been rebranded, renamed. But you know what? We don't care. All we care about is Black Star Experience. Listen, there's a lot more I wanted to bring you. But like I said, Faustina Safo is, you know, firing somewhere for me to get off the studio. So yeah, this is how we're gonna wrap up on E-Corner today. Hopefully next week, Friday, I'll have ample time to bring you what you enjoy best on the show. Until then, stay curious, stay fly, and of course, stay fabulous, honey. Mwah!